bring in, as promised, Academy Award-winning documentary filmmaker Michael Moore. Michael, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Rachel Maddow. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening, Keith.
There's been a spike in the desire to own guns in Connecticut. Statewide, over 90,000 guns have been authorized for sale. You know how I feel about it.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Good evening, my fellow Americans and Patriots. It is Monday, December 16th. Wow. The year is flying by fast. The holidays are fast upon us. I hope you guys are got your Christmas tree up, your Christmas tree up, your Christmas tree up. I hope you got them up. I hope you got your lights, whatever. I hope you're going to be making plans to spend your holidays with your loved ones. Don't know what we're going to be doing here at the Patriot household. I know that we got kids in college and spread all out and final exams and grandparents and great-great-grandparents. We've been truly blessed. Children still have their great-grandparents, so try to coordinate, man. It can be a stressful time of the year, as you guys all know who have families. So we're still trying to work that out. And on top of that, we're launching our new site, patriotfb.com. Give us a look if you haven't had a chance to go out there. But Patriot FB, a social media site for Patriots by Patriots. We have some great news on that front. We are signing up other podcasters, radio talent, and also some TV talent. Ex-TV talent are going to be joining us. So Patriot FB, our goal is to have 24/7 streaming podcasts and Patriot-related shows and informationals out there. So we're doing that. I think we've got about 6 different podcasts signed up. Getting the site up and running, it's never easy to do. So it's all synced and everything. But we're getting there. We're getting there. I've always said God gives us what we need, not what we want. And that's happening. And, special shout out to JJ McCarty. He had in our prayers, in our thoughts and everything. He's does the Conservative Junction radio show and podcast and had a procedure today. I hope everything goes well. Hope you're recovering with your feet up, man. Let some of that radio automation software you got take over and just take it easy. Take it easy. You're missed, but we want you around, my friend. And that's what it's all about. JJ, we've never met personally. We talk on the phone, and like most of the Patriots, we talk through social media and stuff like that, but I would consider them a friend. I know that I could call on them if I needed to or anything like that. And that, that's truly what it's about. That's what it's about. But on tonight's show, we're hopefully we're going to have Tim's going to call in and talk about rifle scopes. I don't know, kind of been caught up with the site a little bit and haven't had time to follow up with him. But for sure, we are definitely going to be talking about Snowden, the NSA, Obamacare. Once again, this president's back at it. His lawlessness, it never ends. Never ends. So, we're going to be talking about that in the next hour. I'm sure we'll be taking calls and everything. If you'd like to join the conversation, give us a call, 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. Join us on the web at www.themidnightpatriot.com or at patriotfb.com. That's patriotfb.com. If you'd like to join us in the chat, when you sign up for that site, we have a special chat room for the Midnight Patriot for each of our shows. And we ask that you post show-related information on that and those, and then we'll kind of watch that. But we got a full show for you tonight. I don't know if we're going to go the full 3 hours. We're going to go as far as time will take us. It's been a rough rough weekend here at the Patriot. Try and get everything coordinated plus launch it a new site. But join us on the web at www.themidnightpatriot.com. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, live right here or on the web 24/7 at www.themidnightpatriot.com. Also, we have a new feature. Yes, we have a new. We got to stop adding features. I keep on adding more work for myself, but hey, that's what it's all about, though. Like sleep when I'm dead, right? That's what it's all about, and not trying to get there anytime soon, though. I will let you guys know. But if you want to join the conversation, give us a call, 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. The lines are open. But kind of keep you up to speed of what's going on. If you go to patriotfb.com, we have the refeed networks running. So tomorrow, we're actually going to be starting out with Michael Evans' show at 8 a.m. For all you bright and early individuals, you people that like to get up early in the morning. American Voice Now will be on at 8. So if you go to patriotfb.com, that's patriotfb.com, you'll see a banner right there on the right-hand side. You click on that banner, it'll bring up a player, and then, of course, you can listen to it live while you're at work and, minimize the so they don't think you're Facebooking and everything, but feel free to give Michael a listen. Great show. I was listening to the show earlier. Now he actually does a syndicated show, so the podcast that he's producing, you will not hear advertising or anything like that. He actually breaks it out. So it's a really good show. I was listening to his show yesterday. Of course, we're going to have JJ McCarty. We'll have his show at 2 live. And then also we are going to have tomorrow night in conjunction with our show. We're going to give you the option here. Not being selfish. We got to get the word out. But Cowboy Logic Radio is going to be joining us from 8 until 10. And then, of course, our show will fire up from 10 until with Stone Anthony right after their show. So what we're going to do is kind of stagger it a little bit and everything. So some programming changes there. But, we're adding more and more shows. Go out to patriotfb.com. That's the best way to find us, to find the shows, and to get plugged into the network. So, what a day! I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start. But hey, actually, let's take a caller. Caller, you're on the line. Hello, caller. Hello?
Hey, it's Wolfie.
Who is this?
Wolfie.
Hey, this is Jeff. What can I do for you, my friend? What's on your mind? What do you want to talk about tonight?
I know this is Gun Monday or whatever. I'm just sitting at home listening to your show, reloading ammo.
That's it. Well, I don't know if Tim's going to join us tonight. I was kind of a little late. He IM'd me earlier in the evening, and I did not get back to him because I've been my head down so much on patriotfb.com, and I didn't get back to him. I did IM him back and told him, but hopefully he'll call in a little bit later and stuff. So, but hey, what a better way to spend the evening than reloading. What are you reloading, my friend?
I'm reloading some 9 for a guy.
Good for you.
Young friend of mine, reloading some 9mm.
Ah, and are you using it sounds like you've got a progressive there. I hear it clicking.
Yeah, I have a Dillon.
A Dillon, yeah. Yeah, I have my Dillon 650. I still got to get acquainted with that. I got to get Tim to kind of give me the lowdown on it and spend some time with me and everything. So,
yeah, a wonderful tool. You can get movies online, whatever.
Yeah.
I've called into you before, invited you down to our club there in Indiana.
Yeah.
North Porter County Conservation Club.
Yep. I'd love to get down. We are going to be doing, obviously, with Stone and stuff, we're going to be doing the tour where we're going to be traveling, all around this great, United States. And, hopefully I'll get down there in the summer. I just, with the show and with, bringing on the news feeds or the new podcast feeds that we're doing and everything, it's just going to be crazy. But I will I will get down there. We will tear it up, and I'll definitely be bringing some of my Form 4 devices.
Sweet. Hey, that's awesome. Well, I should meet you then, because Lord willing, when Stone comes to Indiana, I'll be escorting him.
Okay. Yep. That's how I feel too. But yeah, that's the plan. I mean, Sandy and I are already adjusting our schedules, and we're looking for a motorhome that we can put a satellite dish on, so we can be connected to the yep. So that's
that's sweet. Well, and if you're through here on a Sunday, you're always welcome to come to church.
Absolutely.
Come to church with my wife.
Absolutely, we would love to. We would love to. That's that. Sandy and I grew up. For those that don't know, we grew up. Even though we're stuck here in the Great White North, we actually grew up in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And so I went to Middle Tennessee State University there and everything. So I mean, we are, it's so hard to find a good, good Bible teaching church, especially where we're at. We're in the land of Catholicism and everything like that. So it's it'll be a pleasure, my friend. It'll be a pleasure. So load away, load a few hundred for me.
All right. And I'm looking forward to your show, my friend.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling. That's what it's all about. And when we started this show, it's all about community, and it's all about getting people together and get talking. When I was younger, one of the things, I was never invited. It's amazing. Fathers, let me give you some advice. When you have young men and women, it's in children, they look up to you. And they want to be, it's like that country music song, learn just like you, Dad, right? And, my father, he, great man. I understand him now more than I ever have, and I'm blessed that he's still on this earth, and I'm blessed that I have the opportunity to let him know how much I appreciate, what he's done for me and my family and everything. I didn't get it when I was a young man. I'll be honest with you, butted heads. We fought more than we talked and everything. But one of the things that he does. And he does to this day, and that was part of the inspiration for this show, is that he goes into small town, he meets with his buddies. They're at Hardee's. Now for those in the South, you probably know what those are, and the guys up here in the North, I'm sorry. But they would meet at a Hardee's every morning. You have the mayor, the police chief, all those guys, small town. They get together and they talk about things, talk about politics and all sorts of things. And that's kind of, the motivation or the idea that I had for this show. It's all about communication and talking with your fellow patriots and I mean, I can sit here and talk all day. I think I've proven that, but that's not what I'm trying to do. That's not the goal of the show, is to have me sit here. I'm not a Rush Limbaugh by no stretch of the means. So I'm not interested in that, but it is all about the conversation. And right now, talking about conversations, Joe, are you there, my friend?
Yeah, I'm here.
How are you?
How
doing?
You doing tonight, Jeff?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing much better. I'm doing much better. I mean, today it's been, getting this network feed so we can get these other shows on the air at patriotfb.com and stuff has just been, it's not easy and stuff, and getting everything to sync up. But we're getting there. I think we have hit the peak, and now we're heading down the side of the mountain. So life is a little bit better. But you know what? I was thinking about this today. Don't fret the small stuff. We got a real good friend, and once again, I got to let everybody know that J.J. McCarty had a procedure done today. Our hearts and our prayer, are going out to him and his family. I hope everything goes well. And, but like a fool, he'll probably be on the air tomorrow doing his show at 2:00. You can listen to it right here at patriotfb.com. But he'll get an earful from me when he does it, because, he just needs it, health. Health is more important than anything else. So, but talking about health, Joe.
Yes.
I'm telling you, I'm going to Vegas. I am. I called it. I know you started listening to the show about 2 weeks after I made my prediction. But did you see Obama on Thursday?
No, what did he say now?
Yeah. Well, they didn't use my title because they probably know I'll sue for intellectual property rights. But the insurance company, there's a lot of people that signed up for Obamacare that the insurance companies, they think they're covered under insurance and they're not for whatever reason. They haven't, their information has not been sent over to the insurance company. So they think they're covered and they're actually not. So what Obama do? He said, don't worry about it. Go see your doctor. The government will pick up the tab. So this is what I'm saying. Joe, do you have any major procedures that you need to have done in the next?
No, I don't. Fortunately, I'm in good health. I done away with most of the pills I was taking, and I've gotten in much better shape that way.
I'm gonna start smoking tonight. I am. I'm gonna smoke 20 packs. I'm figuring, free healthcare. Come on, gotta take advantage of that, don't we? But no, on third, he did. It never. The thing when he was overseas in Africa for Mandela, I was so happy because there was nothing that could get screwed up why half of our Congress was out of town. But sure enough, they come back on Thursday and he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about go ahead, go see the doctor. We'll pick up the tab." And it's just unbelievable, as they would say. But so how was your weekend, my friend? You have a good weekend?
It was good. I normally take the weekends off from this fight because I find out if I don't, I get a little bit overwhelmed,
Yeah.
Because all this information is just overwhelming. And we just had a really good time,
Good. Yep. Good for you. No, it's, of course I'm like you, you got to put it down because you could just, I watch about 20 or 30 videos or documentaries, the documentaries that you put up. I haven't even gotten through the David Icke one, the 7-hour David Icke marathon.
Yeah, and I posted a new one today that's the best one he ever had, and it's 9.5 hours.
I saw that. When I'm sitting there looking at the number, it's like 539. I was like, but it's great stuff. And for those that are listening for the first time, go out to patriotfb.com. I would have to say we have probably one of the most extensive video libraries of documentaries, and we're adding every day. We're adding 5 to 10 more videos a day to that feed. And the nice thing about it is I did finish the code up. So when you do add a video to that feed through YouTube, even though it's linked to YouTube, we have code that will actually suck that video down and store it locally. So if YouTube ever decides, for whatever reason, that they're gonna get rid of the video, we will have an archive of it here at patriotfb.com. And so that way they can't censor us through deletion, by interfering with our ability. I finished that code up last week, and it's actually running. I was looking at it today, and having to kind of think about how we're going to do backups of it, but we'll get it worked out. So we had Obama on Thursday. And of course the weekend was the weekend. And then, I want to play here. This is really, for those that have not called, this is where the technocrats are taking us. And I don't know, most people have not heard this, and this, because I've talked to a couple people, over the weekend, and they were sitting there going, there's no way that this is real. And this is what this is when you get Obamacare at the call centers, this is what you're going to have to deal with now. And it's scary. I mean, it's to the point to where it's completely scary. And I'm just going to play this audio, and then, you know, I'll give you the back. Normally I try to give you the backstory before I set it up, but listen to this audio, and then we'll talk about it after it's done.
All right, sounds good.
Hello, how are you today?
Okay, how are you?
Good. Well, I'm calling about an online request you once made about health insurance coverage. We work with all major companies and compare all the rates for you. I can get you a quote in about 5 minutes, okay?
Are you a robot?
I am a real person. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine, but you sound like a robot.
I understand. Can we continue?
Sure.
Are you currently on Medicare?
No, why are the questions so personal?
We received your online application for health insurance, and if you're still looking for affordable health insurance with excellent coverage, we can give you a free quote.
Why should I give my information to you?
I understand, but we do work with all carriers, and I can get you a low rate. Getting a quote will only take a minute, okay?
You really do sound like a robot.
I am a real person. Maybe we have a bad connection. I'm sorry about that.
Are you sure?
Yes. Sure.
I'm gonna hang up now.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
There you go. You know, we talked about Obamacare, and we talked about how they switched the model from you were able to originally go out, or the original intent of the site is that you would go out, you would find your insurance that you wanted, you would compare, and then once you're ready to purchase, then you would enter in all of your information into the system, you know, and then get your Obamacare. Well, they changed it at the last minute, about 2 months before launch, to where you had to register. You had to put in all of your pertinent information. You had to put in your cell phone. Then, of course, they verified you through Equifax, and of course Equifax now, you know, hooks into your telephone records and all of that stuff. That, my friends, is a robot calling people. What they are now doing, there's a company. Now, the company, of course, their website has been taken down because they've been exposed. They have a contract it's a company called Samantha West. And that is a computerized voice IVR system that's made the sound. And they basically what they did is they put the people that registered for Obamacare, they put them into the system, and now that robot is now calling you. A computer is now calling you. Now, what there's two issues I have with that. Number one, because you were foolish enough to enter your information. If you were, you know, you can expect a phone call, right? Or you can expect someone knocking on the door. The second thing is because it is a computer call, they are now, what they've done is that they have the computer call you, do that call, and they're recording that. Don't think that they're not. Number one. And then number two, they're using that information to validate your phone number, to validate that is you. And then on top of that, I know that they have systems that when you talk to these computers as it's recording it, they actually now, when you talk on the phone, they can tell that it's you.
Yeah, analyze your voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that they have that technology, and I know the company that is doing it very well. And you know, normally I don't really disclose this stuff, but I think it's time, you know, for all and I do apologize. I'm actually pulling it up right now.
Are you pulling up the two videos? I seen two yesterday about that very same thing.
No, I'm pulling up something else here. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, and that website is like the most least secure website on the planet. I've seen several different people talking about how after they signed up for Obamacare, they just got flooded with telemarketer calls because the information is going out everywhere.
Yes, and it's unbelievable how they're, like I said, they put them in these databases, and then what happens is that they have these what they call robocalls that go out, and because they put the robocalls out there, you have no, because you're talking to a computer. This is the problem. When you're talking to the computer is analyzing what you're saying, and they're building a voice pattern from you.
Right.
And let me, for those that don't, say, oh, Jeff, you're crazy. You're a conspiracy theorist. U.S. patent application number 207/0033, 041. Method of identifying a person based upon voice analysis. Publication date February 8th, 2007. Filing date July 12th, 2005. And this is a method and apparatus are provided for identifying a person based upon a verbal statement of the person. The method includes the steps of sampling the verbal statements of the person and identify a sequence of phonemes of the sampling statement. The method, blah, 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 blah. And you go and you read that, and a lot of people, like I said, are going to sit there and they're going to go, Jeff, that's all conspiracy. Well, here, in full disclosure, the patent holder of that patent is Jeffrey Norton. You're talking to him.
Oh, really?
When I saw this and I heard this, I know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, that's just another way the NSA can gather information on you to recognize your
and that's
voice on telephone.
That's what I'm telling people. If you get that robocall, hang up immediately. I'm just telling you. I know the technology. We developed it back in 2005. It was written in 2005. The patent was applied for, and the code was written in 2005. The patent was applied for in 2007. I'm just saying, I'm just saying, hang up the phone. Don't talk to it. Don't do it. And the thing is that they've actually, I'm amazed at the technology, that the point that they got it now to where they have a real voice. But these are robocalls. And what they're doing is that, you're tied in, and you be very careful. Be very careful.
And I think I've got those calls when I signed up online to, because I was going through that stage of, let's make money online. And I signed up on a couple of different sites. And for weeks afterwards, I would get these sort of strange calls where they understood me, but they really didn't understand me. And then I didn't realize it until, yesterday when I seen that about the robots calling.
Yep. And so that's my patent. That was one of a few that I've written in the IVR world, but it's a patent number. If you guys want to look it up, it's 207/0033.041. That patent was originally written to detect home healthcare fraud. When I wrote that software, I wrote it because nurses were going into grandmother's home, and when you were paying for a nurse to be there, an LPN would go in. And then they would charge you. So we wrote that software to actually aid CMS in fraud detection. And
go ahead.
No, I was just saying. And so what happened was that all that stuff has been bought out since, and I don't have anything to do with it. I've since moved on, but like I said, I know that when I saw who the company was, I knew exactly who they were because I knew who had access to that. So I'm just telling you, when you get that phone call, hang up. Don't talk to it. Don't do anything. And there is a difference when you're talking to an individual versus like you and I talking on a normal phone. It's a different algorithm because the problem is they have with you and I talking because we overtalk each other and stuff like that. The computers have a hard time breaking that apart, like my conversation from your conversation. Well, when they do the computer work like that, they know the exact phrase that the computer is saying every time. They know the length, they know the position within the recording it is, and so they can take that out. And that way they don't mix up your speech with the computer. Exactly. So that's why that's dangerous. This robocall is dangerous. And for all of you people out there that are afraid, but I mean, the scary part, I mean, if you just listen to it, it's, so what you do to track it, listen to how these guys kind of tracked it up or how they messed it up.
Well, I'm calling about an online request you once made about
Are you a robot?
Coverage.
Okay.
I work with all major companies and compare.
Hey, are you a robot?
What? No, I am
See?
a real person.
You notice the time delay in the answer.
Yep.
Oh, that's crazy. I see you.
But she will never answer.
Like a robot.
I am a real person. Maybe we have a bad connection. I'm sorry about that.
Will you tell me you're not a robot? Just say I'm not a robot, please.
She can't say it.
No, I know.
I am a real person.
I mean, I believe you, but will you just say I'm not a robot? It'll make me feel better to hear you say it.
There is a live person here.
But I know there is. It would just make me feel so much better to hear you say I am not a robot.
What?
If you could say the words I'm not a robot, it would really mean a lot to me.
I am a real person. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I just want to hear you say I am not a robot.
Yes, I'm a real person.
Right, but will you say I'm not a robot?
Health Enrollment Center?
That's how you trick it up because it won't do that.
Right.
And it won't say, no, I'm not a robot because, of course, at that point it would be lying. And not saying that robots can't lie. It's just at that point then there would be some fraud there because you're being tricked and stuff. But be very careful.
Oh, doggone, I lost my train of thought there. Go ahead, Jeff.
No. And like I said, in full disclosure, when we talk about the technology and stuff, like I said, I don't have a problem telling people I was a government insider for many years. And then I woke up and I realized that is not the way I want to live my life. And that those are not the people that I want to, be with. It's an evil world out there and stuff. And so, when I tell people, when I sit down and tell you that you got to be very, very careful about, the technology and stuff, I'm just giving you, the heads up. I'm just giving you, the
info.
The
so
info.
People will know.
Exactly. I'm just giving you the info so from an insider.
And what gets me is she created this to do a good thing, which is to, find out fraud, and then somebody else has perverted it into something else. Yep. And that happens so much today.
Well, and that's the thing with the technology, like most of the laws. And here's a good, laws start out with, every good intention, but the problem is 4 or 5 generations down the road, you don't know how they're going to get distorted. And when we built that software, we built it because there was a vast amount of fraud within the home healthcare industry. As far as, like I said, they would upcharge. One of the things they would do is they would show up at grandma's house, they would change out the meds or whatever, and it would take them like 20 minutes. And then what they would do is that they would charge you or us, the taxpayers, 30, 40 minutes. Or they would drive time. They would charge you the time. In a lot of states, you can't charge you can charge a mileage rate like 52 cents a mile, but you can't charge the amount of time, that it took you to go from A to B. So what a lot of your healthcare companies would do is that they would factor in, they would say, all right, we spent 15 minutes at grandma's house, and so add another 20 minutes to it. And so with our system, it was a phone-based system where they would call in on the phone, and the computer would talk to them. Now this computer's a lot more sexier. They've obviously improved the quality, but it would talk to you, and you would talk back to it, and it would say, all right, you're Jeff Norton or you're whoever. And so, I mean, like I said, when I saw the company that they were talking to, I said, holy smokes.
I feel like I'm in good company. You got a patent? I don't have a patent yet.
Yeah, got a few.
got a few, huh?
Well, we built some pretty cool stuff in the day. In the day. We don't do that anymore. But like I said, I just want to, I want to warn people and everything. And the other thing too, for those that don't know, I'm going to be on Cowboy Radio, Cowboy Logic Radio in January, and we're going to be talking about my past, what I used to do before I before I woke up and found the Patriot movement and decided that I didn't want to be a part of it. So, but we'll be talking about that. But so I just want to let everybody know, please be careful with those robocalls. You need to ask it, are you a robot? If you don't know, I mean, if it's anybody, typically if someone calls me, it's like, what are you calling me for? And they, boom, and I hang up and immediately. But like I said, that technology, they are grabbing your responses, and God knows what they're doing with them.
Right. It's like I say, people buy up this technology and they do who knows what with it. Like, I don't know if you've seen today, but Google bought out Boston Dynamics for their robots.
Yes.
What are they going to do with that?
Well, they already, the big one, they already have a contract with, Boston Dynamics, so people don't know this. Boston Dynamics was formed by an ex-professor at MIT. He never has done a commercial-based project. All of his projects for the last 5 years, 6 years since he incepted have all been DARPA related, all military related. He had no desire, no intentions to do consumer-based robots and everything. The technology is incredible, but the military, there's that one, the pack rat. There's one already that the Marine Corps has already ordered, several of them, and they're going to use them to carry equipment into the battlefield and stuff that for the troops. Yeah.
Yeah, the big kind of bull-looking thing.
Yes, and those things are, I mean, there's a video. I saw a video the other day where it was on ice, and a guy goes up and kicks it, and it knocks it kind of over, but the thing gets, I mean, it's neat stuff, but it's scary. But, the scary part, the part that concerns me with that is it's only a matter of time before someone mounts a gun on it. And then, I know there's imaging software that they already got. I mean, look at your video cameras that they already have out there, that as people walk by them, they draw a little square around it.
Right.
Those video cameras that are there. They already have that technology. So, it's only a matter of time before someone says, all right, we need to build a servo that's going to swing the camera. And I think there was a company that already did it on TV where the servo would track you. So it's only a matter of time before they put those things on put a weapon on them, and there you go.
Yeah, I've seen drones, 4-bladed drones that they can mount an AK-47 to out of Russia.
Yeah, and
it will do like you said here a couple of days ago. It will go down around and just kill everything in that square.
Yeah, I mean, it's just and a lot of people say, well, that's future. It's not, because you got to remember, things that are built now and designed now, they might have the purest of intentions. The problem is that what the second or third generation person's going to use that for, right. And that's what you got to be concerned about. When we sold those patents, I mean, that company was sold off, and and everything a long time ago. I don't even know where that software ended up, to be honest with you. When I took my buyout and I just said, I don't see ya, I'm going on to the next project. I'm going on to the next thing. I have no idea where that's going. I just know that company, like I said, when I saw it. So here you go. They're using software, purest of intentions, and here they are using something, and it just unfortunately had to be something that I created years ago.
Just think of this. If they do arm these things and a hacker gets a hold of them and say there's one in, Oklahoma City, just think of the chaos they can cause. You talk about a mass shooting.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. And you know what? It's only a matter. I mean, one of our favorite, one of our funnest things to do when we were younger is we used to hack the street signs. The electric street signs. So, I mean, it's just, it's crazy. So, it's queuing us here. So we're going to take a break, Joe. When we get back and stuff, let's talk about the NSA. Did you see the 60 Minutes last night or Sunday night?
No, I don't watch regular television.
Well, I was watching it online today. So we'll talk about that. And we'll actually talk about the federal judge overturning some of the wiretapping that's going. It's wiretapping. You can call it whatever you want. It's wiretapping. And everything. But so we'll take a break, and when we get back, we'll talk about that. So you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us on the web at www.themidnightpatriot.com or at our sister site at patriotfb.com.
Well, they say that the country's done. They say that the stock market's gonna crash. They say that every single one of us is gonna lay down while they walk across our back. But I'ma stand up. I'm gonna put my fists in the air. No, I don't wanna have to bring my guns, but I'll be ready if it goes there. But you can lay down if you wanna. You can run away if you wanna. You can pretend that this is totally okay if you wanna. You can play dead if you wanna. Get what they said if you wanna. Turn your back on the country. Of the USA, we're hardworking, honest, and we make our money the good old-fashioned way. But you can lay down if you wanna. You can run away if you wanna. You can pretend that this is totally okay if you wanna. You can play dead if you wanna. But get what they said if you wanna. Turn your back on the country. Let's stand her up and brush off the dirt and dust. A lady liberty needs our help from every single one of us. But you can lay down if you wanna. You can run away if you wanna. You can pretend that tyranny is totally okay if you wanna. You can play dead if you wanna. Get what they said if you wanna. Turn your back on the country needing you right now.
out-of-control spending, a government that no longer works for the people. Had enough? Then vote for Stone Anthony for president. Replace politicians with a citizen statesman. www.stoneanthony2016.com.
America, welcome home the brave. The brave men and women who serve their country are coming home. Home to their cities and towns. Home to their mountains and valleys. Home to their families and friends. Home to America. Some of these warriors are coming home with wounds you can see, and some with wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Wounded Warrior Project was created to provide the support these wounded veterans need to ensure their return to America is well-adjusted and successful. But we need your help to ensure that our mission is a success. Help us honor and empower these wounded warriors. Contact us at findwwp.org. America, welcome home the brave.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, or on the web 24/7 at www.themidnightpatriot.com for all the show information. But you can also join us on our sister site, which is patriotfb.com. That's Patriot FB, the social media site for the Patriot by the Patriot. It was actually designed with the Patriot in mind. And right now, we have fellow Patriot Joe on the phone. I'm not talking Joe, fellow Patriot, as in Joe New England Patriots. I'm talking about red, white, blue American Patriot Joe.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. You know, I'm glad to be a part of this fight we're fighting. I mean, we've really got to spend some time and do this. Our kids' future are at stake here. Yes.
Actually, I am putting out there right now to my. I am putting out if you go to patriotfb.com, I am putting both of my patents out there. And so both of my patents that I own, I have a couple others in conjunction with other partners and stuff. So there you go. So if you go out to patriotfb.com and you click on, there's the link. So you'll be able to see both of my, if you scroll down, you'll be able to see both my patents. In this technology, I know of what I speak, and I said it was only a matter of time. Several weeks ago, I said it's only a matter of time before someone starts queuing in the phones and they start doing, they start gathering your information over the phones. It's only a matter of time, and it's unbelievable. And they do have, and I will tell you, they do have stress indicators in those systems. And so they can actually change their tone. And that's what happens, when you and I speak, without, going back to all the stuff at Carnegie Mellon, but when you and I are speaking and stuff, we can pick up on people's like stresses and stuff, and then we can change our pitch as well. And they do have that, if you notice with that.
Yeah, it's called reading a person when they speak.
Exactly.
In that movie that just came out with, doggone it, where they had to go up to the spaceship to get cured. What was that? And the guy was sitting there talking to his robot parole officer.
Elysium, yeah. Yes.
That is exactly what the elites want to do with all this technology.
It's incredible. I mean, I know guys that are uber wealthy, and I actually had another conversation with a gentleman. Actually, it was I was talking with Michael Evans today, which he has the American Voice Network, which he's actually going to be at 8 a.m. His show is going to be airing at patriotfb.com, his live show. And we were talking about that, and it was crazy because we were putting, because like I said, I'm going to be on Cowboy Logic Radio at the first of the year. So I was kind of going through my CV, my resume, and I was watching a show last night about the Bilderberg and 2013, and I'm sitting there and I'm going down the list. I'm kind of putting my CV together of all the companies, all the organizations that I worked for, either in the United States government at the time or in the military, you know, at DOD and stuff. And I'm going down the list, and as they were naming off Bilderberg members, and I'm like, I know that guy. I know that guy. I know that guy. I know that guy. I actually worked for that guy at AXA, you know.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what's, and I don't know.
It's a whole new awakening, my friend, isn't it?
Well, I'm just telling you this. If anything bad happens to me, now that I figured this out, because one thing that was crazy, I've always been a consultant. I've always worked independently by myself all my life. I mean, that's just the way I was. I never really realized it, but when I would, like when one project would wrap up, I would get a phone call within a week. And it's like, hey, can you come over here and do this? Or can you come and do this? Or, hey, you know, we heard that you're not doing anything, and we have a project for 3 years we want you to work on for 3 years. Or 2-year project we want you to work on. Can you do it? And that's how I've always been able to get work. Well, I'm going down this list of all of these people, and no joke. And I'm just, you know, I'm waking. I don't think it was that, like, coincidence. I don't think it was a coincidence. I think
no, there's no such thing as a coincidence. They're all intertalking, Joe.
So I'm telling you, Joe, and if anything bad happens to me in the next, you know, whatever, I didn't have anything to do with it. Please come and investigate because I was sitting there today when I was talking, actually when Michael and I, you know, we were talking about backgrounds and stuff, and we started, and you know, I was telling him my, you know, where I worked and who I worked, and I'm sitting there, and then last night I was watching the thing with Alex Jones film, and I'm like, well, AXA, I know him. I know the president of AXA. I mean, you know, when he was here in the United States, I mean, you know, when he was in the Chicago office, I met with him, you know, and we sat down and talked, and, you know, and like I said, I don't want to, you know, Cowboy Logic we're going to do a full show where I promised them that I would give them full disclosure on every project I ever worked on, what I did for those projects that I can talk about legally without, you know, having to go to Russia, live in Russia.
You can join Snowden.
Yeah. I will tell you this. I no longer have a security clearance.
I imagine not.
No, that was yanked. that was given up. But
as a matter of fact, I bet they know what you had for breakfast this morning.
I don't know about that. Well, maybe, I don't know. Maybe my dog is a plant, but no, it was just crazy. But we're, you know, when we do Cowboy Logic, and they're actually going to be on here as well on our network. So in January 12th, I want to say we're doing a taped interview, and then they're going to air it Tuesday night. And everything. And I promise full disclosure. They can ask me whatever they want to ask me, and I'll tell them what I can tell them legally and stuff. But you know, it's crazy. I'm watching this stuff and I'm going, this is insane that it's all coming together.
Oh, I know, Jeff. You know, I've been at this for a few years, and it's like, first I thought these were tin hat nut jobs.
Yeah.
But I always sit back and I thought, now why is the government doing this, and why are they doing that? And I spent years doing that.
Yeah.
Well, then when I started to scratch the surface, and it don't take very much to uncover what they're doing.
Yes.
Because the internet is fantastic for information.
Yeah.
You know, and you can find things, and I started listening to Glenn Beck, and then which led me to Alex Jones. I used to use a lot of his stuff, but every time you mention Alex Jones, people just automatically blow you off.
Yeah.
So now I use his information where I can, you know, without mentioning his name, which is sad to say because he has done more to wake people up in this country than anybody I know of.
Oh, I'll tell you, I got hooked on, you know, being a programmer and all that years ago. I actually got hooked on Alex Jones. I used to listen to Art Bell when Art Bell was still on, and then Coast to Coast. Then it became there's Knapp and other guys, but George Norrie took over. And I got hooked into Alex Jones through Art Bell. I was up one night programming, writing code or doing whatever. And so then I flipped over to InfoWars, and then, of course, subscribed. And then, yeah, I will tell you, he woke me up. When I used to commute to Chicago on the train or whatever, I would have an MP3, you know, of all of his shows. And he got me, you know, he woke me up. And you're absolutely right. And when we started this show, the whole premise of it, yeah, I can get angry and I can do all the things that he does and flail and all that, but it is a huge turnoff towards a lot of listeners, and that wasn't the goal of our show. Our show was to bring people knowledge and information, and bring them the information they need so they can make a realistic and intelligent, informed decision.
Exactly.
And so that was our goal with this show.
You know, but we have to realize that we're all one on this planet with this planet. We're all interconnected. We're all brothers and sisters, you know. It don't matter what your skin color is. It don't matter what your ethnicity is. We're all interconnected through this giant energy field.
Exactly.
You know.
And that, you know, when you talk about ethnicity, you know, that's the thing that really, there's two words that piss me off, or upset me. I'm sorry. The first one is racist. You know, just because I question someone, you talk about ethnicity and stuff, just because I question someone and they happen to be of a different race than me or whatever, I'm not a racist. I mean, that irks me. And the other one is conspiracy theorist. It's like, no, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a seeker of knowledge. I want to know more. And if you can look, here's a great example. I had this conversation the other day with my parents. My mom and dad were here before the Thanksgiving holidays, and we're talking. She's like, "Well, you're probably one of those guys that believe that 9/11 was an inside job." And I'm like, "Hey, Mom, you've been listening to Alex. Good for you." But she came back and she's like, "You probably do." I said, "Mom," I said, "Look, this is the thing. This is what I know." Right? Yeah. I know that there was Operation Northwoods going on. I know a month before Dick Cheney took over control of NORAD, and I looked at Dad and I said, "Dad, you were the SAC. You know, you were Air Force. You were a SAC. That's kind of unheard of, right? That the Vice President would take over a military or invoke military privilege." And Dad was like, "Yeah, it is kind of strange." I said, "Okay, so that's, you know, that's what I know. I know that we knew ahead of time that we had these individuals because the FBI were reporting about it. Right. I do know that. I know Condoleezza Rice flat out lied to the commission because she said they didn't have any idea that anybody was going to fly planes into the buildings. But then they turned around and they had the documents that had planes flying in the buildings.
Well, see, since it started, my main question ever since the first day of 9/11 was the timing.
Yeah.
All right. If I'm somebody out that's going to take down the buildings, I'm going to make sure those buildings are as full as they humanly possibly can be before I fly a plane in it.
Yeah.
That was just enough to make the America mad to get them to pull together to go to this bogus war.
Well, I mean, you're right, and you know that's a fact thing too. You know, but the other thing too is, you know, let's kind of look. You know, Building 7 fell for no apparent reason.
Yeah,
that's obvious. You had the BBC,
the CIA, the FBI, and DHS was headquartered in there,
and the organization that found out that there was over $3 trillion of unaccounted for funds at the Department of Defense that the Department of Defense was actually under
the day before that came out in the news.
Yes, they were under investigation. All that information just happened to be in Building 7, which just fell. You know, for no airplane hit it; it just fell. Oh, whoops! I just fall.
Well, you know, they say they spent 6 or 8 months painting those 3 buildings.
Yeah,
and that paint was tested, and it had the thermite in it.
Yeah, well, see, and that's the thing, and that's the other thing is was it you or was it Scott? So I know someone else put up pictures of the.
That was me.
Where
the posts were cut at the bottom at an angle.
Perfectly cut. These things were perfectly cut and stuff. So I saw that. Now, and I got, you know, so everybody, my parents, my mom was like, "Oh, you know, well, that's all just hypothetical. You weren't there." You know, and I said, "You're absolutely right, Mom. You're absolutely right. I wasn't there. I'll give you that. All right. Why don't they show the video? They showed the video of the airplanes flying into the towers. Why don't they show the video of the airplane flying into the Pentagon?
Because that hole wasn't big enough to get a plane through.
Exactly.
Did you look at the size of the hole?
Exactly. And I told her, and I said, oh, by the way, General Dynamics, or was it Mercedes, or they make the turbine.
Yeah, Mercedes.
The Mercedes, they said that's not our engine.
Yeah.
that's not our engine. That's a Pratt Whitney engine. That's a whole different engine. So I told them, I said, if they really want to shut us up, just play the video. And what's really wild is they finally released, the government finally released the video from the motel across the street. Well, they edited that video too.
Yeah, and look at what they're doing now to get people off of thinking that our government did it. Just today, they released information that now ties it to the Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Because they want to throw the trail off. They're marking a false trail.
Well, let me tell you where this is all theory. I had to go work for the State. I'd never worked for the State Department. I had to go work for them because this is
you don't have the clearance.
I don't have the. I lost it. I lost it. I lost it. And me calling John Curry, Herman Munster probably wouldn't help with my job hiring there, anyways. But the thing is this. You have the Saudis who are very critical of this administration, who basically came out and said, the Prince Abdallah basically came out and said that we're waffling, we're insecure. There's a lot of. They also turned around and we were supposed to have a joint meeting 2 weeks ago. They canceled the meeting with Kerry, and it's all because of the Syria and Iran issue, and we're not taking sides. We're not taking sides with the Saudis, so they're pulling back from us. So I would not be surprised if this administration, because they are a bunch of thugs, a bunch of amateurs at this, and they don't realize that they're playing checkers where everybody else in the world is playing chess. We're playing checkers. And so what they did is they're playing a tit for tat, and they're going to lose because they're playing with people who are a lot smarter and have a lot more experience at this. Look at how Putin did to the administration. I think this administration leaked those reports, and what we're talking about is over the week they basically released redacted sections of the 9/11 Commissioner report that they didn't release before, basically saying that Saudi Arabia was more culpable in the 9/11.
Yeah, that created the problem.
Exactly. So that way, but I think that's not because I don't think this administration or this government woke up and said, you know what, we got to get right with God. I don't think they did it for that. I mean, I'll tell you flat out, I woke up and that's exactly what happened with me. Is I said, I got to get right with God. I'm going down a path that I do not want to be down, and I need to straighten my act up. And I don't think this administration did this. I think this administration did what they did because they're trying to play chess with the big boys. And I hate to tell you, Knight takes Rook. They're going to lose. They're going to lose.
And you're talking about getting right with God. I asked the preacher this one time, and I've actually asked several preachers this, and they never had an answer for me. There's 317 million people in the United States. Say half of us are Christians, or 70%, what have you, and we're all praying for America, right?
Yep.
Well, what do we do about the other 6.5 billion people on the planet that are praying for America to fall?
Oh, yeah.
You know, because we are not the spotlight of freedom anymore.
No.
I mean, the things they're doing over in Iraq and Afghanistan to the civilization, just as plain everyday people, we're creating more terrorists and more hate in the world than we are anything else.
Yeah.
Our freedom of spotlight is burned out, and this guy in the office, he is... when he said in his running for office, while he was running for office, that the Constitution was an imperfect a document, that should have thrown up all kinds of red flags. But people said, oh, well, it's politically correct. Let's go out and vote for this guy.
Yeah, I mean, look, and I hate to say it because you say this. I'm just going to admit, we were all duped. I mean, we truly believe. I mean, this man sat up there. Now that I read, Rules for Radicals, and I understand their playbook, he will say whatever he's got to say to get elected. And the problem is this. It's kind of like the same dilemma that I have with other people that have done like social media sites, kind of like what we're doing. A lot of people, I don't feel that I'm in competition with those people. We've gained a lot of knowledge in the last 2 weeks of security and protocols and all that. And I've reached out to a few of these sites and I said, look, let me show you what you need to do to make them better, to make them safer for you and your cousin. And a lot of people are like, well, Jeff, they're and I'm like, no, I don't view it as competition, because the problem is when one of those sites goes down or gets hacked, it makes us look bad too, because everybody's gonna say, well, these, why are these guys safer than these guys? And so, and I use those as example to this whole thing about politicians. There isn't a politician that I'm ever going to believe again, because I will tell you, when Obama first came out and he first did it, this is my mindset. Here you go. I was sitting there and I'm like, well, he hasn't been in politics, because I was naive. I was naive at the time. He hasn't been in politics long enough to be corrupted. So maybe what he's saying is true. But what changed it for me is when I knew that he had the meeting with the Bilderberg in Virginia, when he had that meeting, when him and Hillary Clinton, at that point, I said, he's no different than everyone else.
No, they all working for the same people.
Yep.
And, here's the thing. People believe what they see on television. And instead of doing their own research into the background of their local politicians, they get surprised when they get in the office and they go haywire like Obama did.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, where'd all this come from? But if you look at his past, and if you'd have known his past, he wouldn't be president right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Know Your Vote.
So someone told me, you and I had to, well, I didn't do Obamacare. I'm not going to do it either. But people that sign up for Obamacare have actually had to give more information than the President of the United States had to give when he ran for office.
Yeah. And he had his record sealed before he ran for office, so nobody could find out his criminal past.
Well, that was the other thing, too, is that Occidental College. They have it and stuff. So we're going to take a break. When we get back and everything, we are going to cover the NSA and the federal judge overturning the NSA wiretaps. And it is wiretaps. Call it whatever they want to. It's wiretaps. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. Join us live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, or on the web 24/7 at www.themidnightpatriot.com. Out of control spending. A government that no longer works for the people. Had enough? Then vote for Stone Anthony for president. Replace politicians with a citizen statesman. www.stoneanthony2016.com.
And our own self-destruction. God only knows we need help. Looking for a hero, someone who cares about the future, not about themselves, but about the idea of America. We need a hero, someone who shows the way. We need a hero who speaks for the people and what we have to say. We still believe this land of the free is still America. this freedom is anything but free. What we have here depends on those who will fight for what they believe. When we stand together, there's nothing that we can achieve. This nation of people standing as one in the name of liberty. We need a hero, someone to show us the way. We need a hero who speaks for the people and what we have to say. We still believe this land of the free is still America. We still believe in the land of the free, and we need a miracle. We need a miracle. We need a miracle. We need a hero, someone to show us the way. We need a hero who speaks for the people and what we have to say. We need a hero today. We need a hero,
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time. Give us a call if you'd like to join the conversation at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. Tonight's just kind of a free form. I mean, we do have some topics, that Joe and I are kind of punching out here, and everything, kind of knocking them off as they come flying over to the plate. But let's talk about a little bit, Joe. The NSA,
Yeah,
federal
this-
judge.
U.S. District Court judge there in D.C. has ruled that the NSA surveillance is unconstitutional.
Yeah,
But he's set it up in such a way to where it can be appealed because he knows the NSA is going to appeal it for sure.
Well, you can't look. Do you really? I mean, you got to do your job, right? It's kind of like me. You got to do your job, but do you really, really, really want to upset the? I mean, they have drones.
Yeah, exactly.
They have drones.
Yeah, I think Obama said that in his speech. I've got two words for you: predator drones.
Yeah, I have drones.
Yeah.
And stuff. So I just and it's just serious. I mean, can you imagine that we make that comment tongue in cheek, but it's actually very true because look at Andrew, look at Breitbart, look at Tom Clancy, look at these individuals who supposedly had information that was damning information about this government. And I'm not talking about just this administration. This is information that is far more reaching across the whole government as a whole and its whole operations and stuff. And those guys just, Andrew, they're still trying to figure out how he died. Tom Clancy, I think everybody assumed he had a heart attack, but I don't think it really came out what his true
No, and he was writing a book that had names, had times, it was a very detailed book that he was going to come out with.
Yeah.
And so far, I've heard nothing about what's happened to that information in that book.
Yeah. And I, like I said, so you really, I wouldn't, well, we do it all the time on the show, but I mean, it's one thing to sit there and talk about hypotheticals and all of this stuff. But when there's certain information that when for a fact that's damning, there is certain information that will probably get you killed. And
exactly.
And so this judge probably for his own career and his own health, left that door open. And of course, the administration just picked right up on that and they kind of, they just kind of brushed it aside. But the reality of it is look, it is far, a lot of people are like, I watched the I went online and I watched the actual 60 Minutes interview where they went inside the NSA, and the NSA is, trying to do a public relations tour. And they were like, oh, here's the software that does this and that. It's not that hard. They're like, oh, it's the metadata. It's just the metadata. We only have this phone number called that phone number and this phone number called that phone number and then this phone number called that, and that's all we're showing. It's not that hard. You can take those phone numbers and put them in Google and find out who they belong to. Not, there's other technology. And then, see, and the other thing too is a lot of Americans don't know this. Here, I'm going to give you a secret here. I'm going to give you a little trade information. Your cell phone company, when because you have people have Sprint, they have AT&T, they have whoever your carrier is, but we're all calling each other and we're all calling our homes. The problem is that we're also all using each other's towers and switches and packets and packet switching and all of that stuff. We're using, my carrier is using yours, your carrier is using mine, and all of that. Well, that stuff doesn't come free. Someone's got to pay for that. The company that manages all that is actually an Israeli company. And basically every phone call that happens in the United States is in essence being tracked for billing purposes, not for, the government spying on, but they're being tracked it's an Israeli company that reconciles those bills. And so what they do is that they say, all right, AT&T, you had 40 million minutes this month and out of the 40 million minutes of cell phone service, 30 million or 3 million was done on Sprint. So you owe Sprint X amount of dollars. And then they go, all right, Sprint, you had 29 million minutes of usage and 4 million was done on AT&T. So they take the 3 million and the 4 million. They say, all right, so now Sprint, you owe AT&T $1 million. And then they go, then ShoreWest is using X. So they do, and this company is in charge. It's an Israeli-based company. They're in charge of all of that. So in order for them to do those calculations and all of that stuff, they have every cell phone call ever made.
Yeah, I bet they do. I bet you're exactly right, Jeff.
No, I know these things.
Right.
So it doesn't take you hard to, it doesn't take you hard. And I'm not going to mention it because, you think I'm scared of the American government? I'm definitely scared of Mossad. So you put it in the Googler and come up with it. But there is a company, it's an Israeli-based company, and they're in charge of managing all of these transactions. And the thing is that this database, now why is that important? Well, the reason why that's important is because the NSA doesn't have access with their system, the system that they say they have, or the one they showed on TV. They don't have access to the phone records. But what they can do is they can send that information to their friends in Israel. Well, we don't have friends in Israel anymore. That's the good news, because Obama's pretty much upset them. And then they can actually track that back to the individual. It's not that hard. It's a database connection, and database connections take milliseconds, if nanoseconds. So this whole notion, I was watching that video last night, and they were showing, oh, this is all we have. And it's like, well, that's all you have access to. That doesn't mean that the general, the 4-star general that they were talking to, that doesn't mean he doesn't have access.
Right, because they use a lot of outside vendors for plausible denial.
It's all outside vendors. And, that's another scam. And American people need to realize this. The United States Constitution forbids, and it doesn't anymore because of the Patriot Act, but used to forbid governments from spying on people. So what governments would do is they would hire corporations to do that. They would actually hire corporations. They would hire corporations like the one that I just played the robo voice for. That's not a government entity. That's a private company that has the technology that was hired. And like I said, I know the technology that the company's using, and I know for a fact what they're using, and I know what they do.
Well, it's been chipped at for so long. Like back in the 80s, early 90s, I was raising Cain with people about breathalyzers. All right, that's my breath. That's my blood.
Yeah.
It belongs to me. And you're telling me you're going to use that against me?
Yeah.
That's a violation of your Fourth Amendment. But they let it slide for the greater good. No harm. No, how do I say this? The damage to our personal rights for those words right there, for the greater good, has just eliminated our Bill of Rights.
Yeah. That's, what's the breathalyzer and stuff. This is, and they tell you, road stops. Let's talk about it because you brought that up. Road stops. The court has already said that they can't do a road stop for drunk driving. What they can do a road stop for is compliance related issues, to make sure you have a driver's license and your insurance. That's what they can do. Now, if they detect in the part of their investigation, that's why they tell you in a road stop, you don't roll the window all the way down. Well, I don't drink and drive anyways. I just never did. But the thing is, you roll the window down enough just to talk to the officer, and then, they're going to tell you to, and it's like, no, I don't have to. And that's the thing. And then now, like in Texas and what you alluded to, now they're strapping people down and they're drawing their blood against their
will.
I'm sorry.
Did you see the story last week where they made a woman have a C-section because they wanted the DHS wanted to take the baby away from her because she had a nervous breakdown?
That was actually in England. Where I don't think it was here in the United States. I think that was in England that their department, that was reported at the Mail UK. But one of the things that the Blaze reported about today, I was reading it and we were covering the story. Children's Hospital. If you have a child that's sick, and you take the child into the hospital and they're sick and they want to do a procedure and you're against that procedure for whatever reason, could be religious or whatever, they will actually petition the court to take your child away from you. And they will then they're going to do their procedure. The problem is the bioethical problems that I have with that is, number one, a lot of these procedures are research based. So basically what they're doing is they're guinea pigging on our kids. And it's just wrong.
I've seen a story last week where some Amish or Amish, however you want to pronounce it, their daughter had cancer.
Yes.
Well, because they didn't want to do the chemo, they went outside the country.
Yes.
She got cured. They come back. There's arrest warrants out for those people.
Yep. And that's, and that's where it's become. And that's where people, this is another great example of the original intentions of the law, the slippery slope, right? The whole slippery slope thing. And that's another great example where the law, when it was first enacted, was a good, we could look at it and justify it. Now, I'm a firm believer that the people that wrote the law to begin with knew exactly what the end game was. I knew that, I have a sinking suspicion that a lot of these people, when they write these laws, they know what the end game is going to be 10 or 15 years down the road. Like I said, we're playing checkers. These guys are playing chess.
Yeah, and you got to remember that Law A is written, and then they write Law B, and then they write Law C, which that all is made to enforce Law A. Law A itself is not much of a law, but when you add Law B and Law C, it becomes a potent device to use against us.
Yep. Well, and you know, they talked about that. There has not been under the Homeland Security laws, under the Patriot Act, there has not been not one arrest of a terrorist.
Yeah, that's this Judge Leon. That was a part of his statement. Yeah. It's like they're monitoring all these phone calls, but not one terrorist thing in the last few years have been stopped.
But
go ahead.
No. I was going to say, but did you hear Obama today? Well, there was 54 specific, terrorist threats that we've stopped. Well, wait a minute, Mr. Obama, President Obama. ISA was talking to your NSA director but 3 weeks ago, and he asked him, ISA, who's over the Senate, commission, asked the NSA director, how many arrests have you had? And the guy was like, I can't tell you, and so now you got Obama out there going, oh, we had 54.
Yeah. This comes from the same guy that says you can keep it if you like
He's making it up, people.
Yeah.
He's making it up. Trust me, if this administration or any administration made a terrorist arrest because of their surveillance on you and I, it would be all over the news. It would be all over the news.
Well, you got to remember, Jeff, they don't want to catch these people. They want them to go through with it because it keeps all the rest of us sheeple in fear.
Yeah.
And as long as we're in fear, then people stand in line to sign their rights away.
That's right.
It's like on Star Wars, that lady said, and democracy goes down in a hail of applause.
Yep.
Yep. It's like, good Lord, what are you thinking, people?
Yeah, no, and I'm a firm believer. I agree with you. Is that there's a certain element that says, look, we got to, that's one thing I do miss about the Soviet Union. When we had the Soviet Union, we had our enemy.
Yeah.
And now
exactly.
that we don't have our enemy, the military-industrial complex has to create an enemy, and they created an enemy, in Al-Qaeda, and they created. But the thing is, what is troubling to me is that this enemy, that the supposed enemy of ours, we're the ones that gave them the weapons, we're the ones that gave them the toxins, we're the ones that gave them the training, we're the ones that allowed them to come over here and train. I mean, we're the ones that did, that did all this stuff, and so it's just
It started in 1953 when we changed the regime in Iran.
Yes.
That is a direct result of the hostage situation in 1979.
Yes.
All right. And it started in, when, like you said, we gave Hussein all the chemical weapons to use on the Iranian people. Then we trained and gave bin Laden everything. If we simply had a hands-off policy, hey, you do what you do in your country. I know it's bad. I know that country is killing thousands of people. But when we get involved, then those people that we make end up turning on us like a mad dog.
Yes, they don't. I mean, and that's the thing, is that they unlike us, they are focused.
Yeah, exactly.
They are focused. They have one thing and one thing only, and that is the conversion and the prophesizing of Muhammad. That is their goal. That is their sole purpose. And I'm talking about the radical Islam. That is their goal. Their goal is not to drive Bentleys. Their goal is not to be in airplanes. Their goal is not to have a #1 music single. Their goal is not to be on The Voice or have score the winning touchdown. That is not their goal. Their goal in their mind is to serve their deity. And I say their deity because I don't care what they, I'm tired of people saying, well, the God is the same. No, it's not. It's not the same God. My God does not condone the killing of anybody, and then on top of that, the burning. And what I'm referring to is over the weekend, a lot of people need to know that this is another great example. And I'm getting really tired of people saying the Islam, the religion of peace. It is not the religion of peace. Over the weekend, there was 50 Christians that were barred in a house, at a preacher's house. I'm going to pull up the article right now. There was 50 Christians that were barred in a house, and at their preacher's house over in it's in Nigeria. It's in Nigeria. In Nigeria. Yep, and they were burned alive. And there's a picture. There's a picture of and it is horrific. There's a picture of the bodies laid out, where of course the Islam, the terrorists, whatever you want to call them, the animals. Let's just call them what they are. The animals locked these people up in a house, and they lit it on fire, and they burned 50 Christians. This is going on every day. You don't hear about it in the mainstream media.
No, because they're trying to get Christianity out of the United States.
Yeah.
And all around the world, we don't know what's going on over there and where that happened until somebody reports on it, so they can kill as many Christians as they possibly humanly can.
Yep.
And until somebody reports it, we don't know it. And it's just this religion of non-tolerance of other religions is, all right, I have the right to believe what I believe, but I also believe in your right to believe what you believe. Yeah. Even if you're right, even if you believe something totally off the wall or that I just can't believe in, it's your right to do that.
It's your belief. I don't agree. I mean, I'll flat out tell you, we had a discussion the other day actually on patriotfb.com where, a good patriot, a good fellow patriot was like, I'm not a Christian. I can't. And I'm like, that's okay. You can believe it. Hey, look, that is between, look, and I don't know, my religion, tells me don't worry about other people. Just dust the shoes and then move on. God makes it perfectly clear. I'll take care. Don't worry about that stuff. But Islam, there are only three ways. You either convert, you pay a tax, or you die. That's it. There is no tolerance of any other religion.
And it used to be, and a lot of people don't like to admit this day and age, but this country was based on the Ten Commandments. All right, it was based on Christian values. And it does not matter, say Farmer A and Farmer B, they hate each other's guts, and they don't talk to one another, and they might even shoot at one another, back in the day. Yeah. But come Sunday, they had their butts in the pews right next to one another like they were buddies because they had a moral compass to live by.
Yeah, and it's I mean, it's just I can't comprehend. I won't say unbelievable. I just can't comprehend it. I can't comprehend the hatred. The vile hatred for another human being because they don't believe the way you believe. I mean, don't get me wrong. I detest this president. I really do. There's no question about it. You don't have to be on the show long enough to realize that. But I don't wish death upon him. I don't wish death upon his family. I just wish you'd go to Hawaii and get the heck out of the way. So
I'm
real
kind of
patriots
hoping for a long-term prison sentence.
Well, hope and want are two different things. But
sorry about that.
No, that's fine. But I don't have a cough button on you. But the thing is that these other religions, though, I mean, they want to cut. I mean, and it's almost to the point. It's how. Not only are we executing Christians, but how can we just dismain them and grossly violate their right to life? And it's sickening. And it's and for our government, our mainstream media not to be condemning that openly and publicly only can tell me one thing, and to me it tells me that they are culpable. they allow it to happen, and thus they're culpable in that. And to me, that's a war crime. That's a war crime.
And all these leaders of all these different religions, they're up there and they're making billions and billions of dollars. And as long as they keep us fighting amongst ourselves, we're not paying attention to what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're pushing the hate through the Islam to hate Christians.
Yeah.
And the same thing with some of the Christians. I just got in an argument last week with a guy that was a Christian patriot.
Yeah.
But when I said something he didn't like, he snapped on me.
Yeah. And that's where you got to be a Christian and say, hey, you believe what you believe, man. Hey.
Well, if you want to live a free man, you have to,
I know.
You don't need permission to live.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't know. Talk about religion. I want to, we're going to spin it down here. I'm going to cut that break out, but did you hear about this 5th grader in Tampa Bay, Florida? It seems like Florida. I got to call Mark and ask him what's going on down there because, they won't let you do gardens anymore. They won't let you do solar panels. I mean, they're doing a bunch of stuff. But this 5th grader, did you hear about this 5th grader who actually won the first place for a speech that they did on the history? I'll just read it to you. Tampa, Florida, 5th grader student won first place after he gave a speech about the history of people using religion to justify murder, but was stripped of his title the same day by the school officials. Zachary Cole Drake given a speech to his class at a Patel Partnership school in hopes that he would be chosen to represent his school in a 4-H program. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, 4-H is huge. I mean, it's a big deal because there's scholarships and all of that. So, this is not just a, hey, little kids program. These are, these kids are, they use these programs to get scholarships to help pay for their college and all of that down the road and their schooling. And this kid was denied that because the principal felt that the topic, the fact that it was a religious topic, was something that was inappropriate. And I'm sitting there going, really? It's really inappropriate. He probably should have wrote on how jihad is good. And then of course, he would have gotten, all sorts of, accolades.
Barb just listed something in the chat window, and I fully agree with you. Love is the only way. I finally have figured it out after all these years of hearing love thy enemy, what it actually means.
Yes.
You're
right.
Because that's the only way we're going to beat this thing. And it's scary the way they're doing things. And as long as they got us fighting amongst ourselves, the upper class can do whatever they want.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree because they're lawless and they're evil, and so they're not playing by the same rules. The only thing that I have, and maybe Barb, and it's a great topic, Barb. For those that don't know, if you join us at patriotfb.com, there's a chat room for the show, and that's what we're reading from. And the only question that I have is, I think part of their manipulation of us is the fact that they use, this administration and I want to say this new world order uses the fact that we are Christians against us. Yeah. And they say, well, you're Christians, you're not supposed to fight back. But wait a minute. It's my understanding when I was reading the Bible, there was a lot of kick butt take names in the Bible.
Yeah.
Where God said, and I agree. I think in most cases we should run, love our neighbor, and we should, do the things that we should do. But I also think that the trumpets of war, and the Bible is riddled with it, where God finally said, smite them.
Yeah. Well, the problem of it is, though, when you get going for an eye, that leaves the whole world blind.
Yeah. Was it Mahatma Gandhi that said that at one time?
I think so.
But there was more to that quote, and that's the thing. It's funny. Let's put it.
We got a break coming up?
Well, we're just gonna roll if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all. I got plenty of time.
I think there was more to that quote, and I'll have to pull that out. But there was more to that quote that kind of, the eye for an eye. You're absolutely right. I mean, look, it's like this. As a Christian, I'm torn because God does tell me, and God tells you clearly, if you're truly a Christian, he said, anybody that dies for me will be at the rightest place in heaven next to my son. He tells you that. He clearly says that. And so my dilemma, my torment is that, and I
where
believe,
do we draw the line?
At what point do we say, well, wait a minute, God, you gave me, the talent that I have and the ability to do what I do is all God given. There's no question about that. I can tell you, God turned my life around, took me from being evil and having that mindset that we're talking about daily on the show to the one I have now. So I know the presence and the power of God in my life, and I can't speak for other people, but in my life, I know where that's at. Whatever, and you call it whatever it is, I chose to call it God. But the thing is that he put me into this fight for a reason. And I don't know, and the dilemma that I have is, what is his will versus my will? Exactly. At what point does God say, all right, Jeff, all right, you have a podcast, you do the radio show, you do the Facebook page. Now your brothers in arms are now being attacked by this government. My inclination at that point is to take up arms, but then there's a part of me that says, well, turn the other cheek, right? Yeah. And so should I, as a soldier of this fight of Christianity, should I allow my fellow Christians to be slaughtered because I'm turning the other cheek, or do I need to get into the fight with them? And that's the dilemma, I think, that all of us.
I can understand that too, and here's my opinion on that.
Sure.
If we were together as one, back to united we stand, divided we fall, we could easily walk up to the White House, and if 60 million people hit Washington, D.C., I don't care what they try to pull, they're not going to get off with it without one bullet ever being fired. And if we can change the head of our country back to having somebody in there that has the same beliefs as we do, then we can change the world. But right now we have to worry about what's at home.
Yeah. Well, and that raises a good point, is that if we were truly Christians and we truly bound together, actually you raise an excellent point. If we are true Christians and us Christians get together and we come together and we say, no more, we're not going to do this anymore. We're not putting up with this anymore and stuff. We wouldn't have to draw swords. Because there would be exactly. we outnumber them by and maybe that's the answer. That's maybe why God has I feel like God has somewhat turned his back on our movement, because we are opposed. Maybe that's the answer to avoid the whole thing. I don't know.
Well, we just have we cannot accept each other's reasoning again.
Yes.
Because there's the Protestants and there's the Catholics and then there's the Southern Baptists, and you ask any one of them, well, all the other religions are all wrong, blah, blah, blah. We can't put that infighting to the side to go for the greater good. Hey, let's join together. Yeah. If 60 million people marched on Washington, that would be news.
Yes.
You hear every day of 1 million people going, or 1 million bikers going, or 1 million truckers going. That's just everyday news now. It's like, remember how the space shuttle got to where they were launching it so often that it wasn't nothing.
It was no big deal. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And it's just it's an interesting thought, and maybe. I'll have to do some research on that. Maybe that is the answer. Maybe we as Christians need to come together, and we don't have to pick up stones and fight with each other and stuff. So I'm going to change the topic. So if you'd like to, this is for all the listeners out there. I know we got some in the chat room and trying to answer your questions as they come up and talk to you guys as well. But the number, if you'd like to call in, is 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. 4870. Sorry about
Tongue
that.
twister.
No, I actually had a little sneeze there. You didn't hear it. It was my little mousy sneeze. Let's talk about. Did you hear about Mexico giving up their oils?
No, I did not, actually.
This is news. Mexico now, obviously in the Gulf. Now, a lot of the oil reserves in the Gulf are actually owned by Mexico. Now, this could be a double-edged sword for us. Number one, Mexico now is going to give up their monopoly on the oil. So that means that anybody can drill.
Right.
And that means anybody can drill. Now, the advantage of that is obviously the crude oil that's going to be coming out is going to be a lot closer, so we'd have to ship it. We're no longer dependent upon the Suez and all of that in that region. The economists are actually saying that with Mexico doing this, we will actually completely release our dependence upon Saudi Arabia, or Arab oil.
Yeah, you've seen, I don't know if you've seen this, but we're pumping out more oil right now than Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
And you take that little section in between South Florida and Cuba.
Yes.
And because we're not allowed to do business within so many miles of Cuba, China has oil rigs galore down there, and they're going to do the same thing over there, would seem to me, in the Mexican Ocean, trying to pump it out for themselves, because if they could do that, then they don't have to buy the American dollar to buy oil.
Well, yeah, they're saying that we would be able to produce about 2.5 million barrels a day, increase our production by 2.5 million. So now... which tells us, let's use a metaphor, over the barrel, how much we are. They said that that price of crude, though, it's averaging about $188 a barrel. Will only go down to about $88 a barrel. Though, even though we're making our own oil, we're doing all this stuff, it's only going to go down,
Yeah, X amount of dollars.
It's unbelievable.
Supply and demand, and supply is drying up, so, the price is going to, it's always going to be higher. I actually think, the issue is that you got China in their industrial revolution, right? They're buying cars left and right. You got Mexico. They're starting, shipment of our cars are going to Mexico. I mean, they're starting to gear up. So as America actually starts reducing its dependency on oil, these other countries, though, are starting to increase it. So that's where you have the supply. That's where you still have the demand curve is still high versus. But if the United States, I heard an economist who was saying that we actually now ship more petroleum products overseas than we actually produce here, or that we actually use here in the United States. And they say that because it's cheaper. I mean, it's more. They make more money, more profit, obviously. Right. By selling it outright than the.
But we have enough.
Somebody in the country.
Yep, we have enough oil production here in the United States to sustain our need. And then now with Mexico now opening up its oil beds, that's going to leave about 2.5 million barrels. That's 2.5 million barrels. That's just an unbelievable amount of oil. We have oil reserves. They said that within 2 years we'd be able to fill our oil reserves all the way back up. Everything that was taken out. So that's, I don't know if that's good news. It's interesting news, though.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting news. Now, I will tell you this. Some really good news is, did you hear about these sheriffs in Colorado? And I
I did. They are most of the sheriffs in Colorado are not going to back up the unconstitutional gun laws.
Exactly. And see, a lot of people don't realize this, is that your executive, your legislative branch, they pass these laws, but there has to be someone to bring you to the court system.
Yeah.
There's got to be an entity. The federal government, they do have that entity, but mainly, it goes on the burden of the sheriffs, and they're the ones that are in charge, and they're elected officials as well, so they have comparable responsibility. So the thing is that these sheriffs are now telling the constituency there in Colorado, we're not going to enforce these gun laws. We're not going to do it.
You think that has anything to do with them recalling all of those senators?
Yeah. I think it has absolutely
the sheriff
everything.
said, "Hey, wait a minute, we better back up a little bit."
Yeah, I think. Well, no, look. Obviously, a sheriff is a political position.
Yeah.
I actually think what it is that the sheriffs have realized, like our Sheriff Clark here in Milwaukee has realized crime is way out of hand. Unless the government is willing to deal with the criminals the way that they should and everything, crime will always be out of hand. Now, our sheriff, the sheriff here in Milwaukee, is flat out on national TV. He believes that every person should have a gun in the city of Milwaukee to protect themselves. And of course, that didn't go over real well.
Right.
And FYI, he's African American, he's black, but he's very vocal about gun ownership in the United States, and he supports it. And I think these sheriffs have realized that they, how do you say this? Everybody has a right to protect themselves, and with these sheriffs' budgets being cut, and with the sheriffs, with the layoffs and all of that stuff, they realize that they can't be everywhere. And they, so they're telling everybody, look, you got to protect yourself. And, as long as you're a law-abiding citizen and you're not a criminal, what's the difference between a gun and a hammer or a knife or a chainsaw or a car or a, look, I can find
guns don't kill people. I don't care how they spin it. Guns do not kill people.
They don't.
People kill people.
Exactly.
And did you see where they charged? And I think this was in Florida, if I remember right. I'm not sure. I just scanned the story, but they charged a guy with murder for killing a guy that was doing a home invasion, and the district attorney is like, "Well, why didn't you call 911?"
Yep. Well, there's more to that story. Now let's give it in full disclosure.
Okay.
Apparently, the individual that was shot. Now, regardless, but let's put it out there so we're not. Apparently, the individual that was shot was at the house earlier that evening. He came back to the house. So the question is, was there an altercation prior to? Now, I don't agree with the district attorney's assumption that you should have called 911. That was crazy. Now, I'm not going to call 911. I'm going to drop you if you're in my house. But there is more to that story, and I just want to make sure that people understand that we do kind of do the background on this on stories that we report. So apparently, the individual that was shot, is my understanding, he was there at the house, or there was a party or not, or a gathering, and he was there before. He was asked to leave because apparently he was creating an issue. Now, I don't know if the sheriff, and I don't want to take people out of context because I've been taken out of context and it's not right. I don't know if the sheriff was saying, look, if you had a problem with this individual prior to, you should have called 911, to kind of let us deal with it. And, if you knew that this was going to be an issue. But you know what? I don't have a magic ball. I can't tell you what's going to happen in 2 hours or 3 hours from now. So but I just want to make sure that people understand that I don't want to take the sheriff out of context, but if what he said was true and he said it in the context in which it was reported, shame on him. Shame on him. That man had every right to protect him and his family.
Yeah, and you know what? The cops would have showed up and asked the guy to leave the party or whatever it was, and he'd have still been out walking around unless he'd done something to violate the law or got lippy with the police. Calling the law at that particular time just would not have worked. I mean, I would have got him out of the party, but like you said, the guy,
he came back. But I guess
Yeah.
the part that's questionable for me, I think the police officers, the arresting police, this is the DA, I think, trying to make a political statement. And like I said, if that's the case, then shame on him, for doing that. But, because the police were saying, they're not in agreement. And that's why I tell people all the time, when you talk to an officer, I am dead serious. And all my lawyer buddies will tell you the same thing. And you can take my advice or you don't take my advice. When you're talking to anybody, if law enforcement's talking to you, you are under investigation. for something. They just don't come up and lockjaw with you. And
idle chit chat.
That's right. You are under investigation for something. They're trying to, whatever it is, you are under investigation. And my attorney friends will flat out tell you, they say, officer, I'd like to answer your questions, but I'm not going to do it until I talk to my attorney. And that's all you say to them. You don't, and I know someone was saying last week, you invoke your fifth, and I did some research on that. I want to circle about, we talked about that. You need to invoke your Fifth Amendment. The problem with invoking your Fifth Amendment, and you're absolutely correct, you should invoke your Fifth Amendment. But the problem is a lot of people will talk after they invoke their Fifth Amendment. And the minute you invoke your Fifth Amendment and you say something, you say anything after you invoke your Fifth Amendment, you have you could possibly nullify your Fifth Amendment. And plus there's ways that they can get around that. So the best thing to do is just say, officer, I'd like to answer your questions, but not unless my attorney's, not until I talk to my attorney. And that's it. That's all you need to say.
And, I'm a firm believer in that, because my lawyer one time told me, whenever a cop walks up to your window, just, give him your license, give him your registrations, don't say nothing more.
Yep.
And I had that happen to me where I got pulled over. And this officer started asking me, well, where are you going? Where are you coming from? And I'm like, my attorney advised me not to say anything other than give you my ID and what have you. So if you're going to give me a ticket, give it to me and do your job and let me go.
Exactly.
And he got mad. He was like, what effing attorney?
Yeah.
It's like, I know I'm going to get pulled over. I got a lead foot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you don't. You give them your vehicle, right? You give them what you're supposed to give them, and that's it. Right. And then, the thing too is when you're like within 100 miles of a border, you are subject to search. Well, they think you are, and you just
constitutional free zone.
That's right. So you just go on YouTube and you see how they do it. Now, I will tell you that if you do that, you're more than likely, you're probably going to get arrested. You better know what the heck you're doing, because there's certain words and certain things that you do. Now, those individuals that are doing it, they do it right, and they stick to their guns and stuff, and you just, but watch the video. They're out there. I mean, they're
messing with one cop and trying to get your rights to him to understand your rights is like kicking a hornet's nest.
That's not their job. I hate to say it. A lot of people don't realize the job of a police officer is to bring you in front of the court. It's the court in which you argue your rights. The job of a police officer, they're not judge or jury. That's not their job. Their job is to bring you in front of the judge and jury, so then you can argue your rights and stuff. I'm not, like I said, those individuals, God bless them. I'm proud that the fact that they're standing up for their right, but and they're standing. But the police officer, or the border patrol and stuff, that's not their job. And so what you do is you confuse. I mean, the reason why those guys, if you notice, most of those videos when you watch them, the border patrol are they just don't know. They freeze up. They're like, what do I do now? Because the sheeple is now telling me, and they're afraid. And I actually I got pulled over one time, and I just talked to the officer, and he flat out asked me, "Sir, are you an attorney?" And I was like, "Why do you ask?" And he's like, "Well, I just need to know." And I'm like, why is that even part of the conversation if I was an attorney? And I told him, I said, if I tell you I'm an attorney, am I going to get off the ticket? And what the officer told me? He said, maybe. And stuff. And I said, well, I'm not going to tell you either way. So, here's my driver's license and stuff. And I ended up getting off the ticket anyways. But it was strange that he asked me right off the bat, are you an attorney? Kind of like, well, what are you going to do to violate my rights? They don't
want to create a situation to where an attorney is more apt to go after them in court and sue their pants off versus the everyday guy.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Is like, what are you going to do next? And so, talk about guns and everything. One of the obviously we had the shooting in Colorado at the school, and the part that is disturbing to me about that is the fact that the media, and I did more research on this, and it is alarming. The media, all of these shooters of late have all been either socialist or left-leaning Democrat. I mean, far left-leaning Democrats.
And you had to look at the alternative media to find out that thing only lasted like 80 seconds because there was a guy with a gun in there that was guarding those kids, and he shot, or he held him to a point, and the kid shot himself.
Oh, huh? I didn't know this.
Oh, you didn't know that?
I didn't know. Please.
Oh, yeah.
Give me the details. I did not know this.
I was reading a thing today in a couple different articles that said the whole thing lasted 80 seconds because the guard or off-duty police guy or whoever they had in that school with the gun chased that guy down and had him trapped. And after 80 seconds of that happening, the kid shot himself. And that's because there was a guy with a gun there. If that guy without a gun been there, that kid would have went on to shoot more people. But they put a stop to it.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yep. And see, we guard our money with the banks, armed guards. We guard the darn Social Security office with an armed guard. Our kids should be, and I'm not saying that we should put like hard-nosed police officers in there that are going to harass the kids, but there should be an armed guard walking around the school in case something like that happens.
Here you go. I did not know, and thank you. See, this newsflash: an investigation in the shooting at Alpero High School continues. Law enforcement officials stress the presence of an armed guard in the school was the key factor in preventing more deaths and injuries.
Yep.
I did not know that the school peers fired multiple rounds, critically wounding one fellow student and ending his own life. According to the Christian Science Monitor, the school armed guard began running towards the sound of the shooter as soon as the first shots were fired. Alpo County Sheriff Grayson Roberts said that as a result of the guard's action, the heavily armed shooter realized he was about to be confronted by an armed officer, and then he took his own life.
Yep.
Wow. I did not. That's incredible. And you didn't hear that on media.
No, you won't hear that on mainstream media because they're still trying to push the anti-gun control. And I'm sorry, but guns save people. As many people as they kill, they save way more people.
I can tell you in the United States alone, there's over 1,000 individuals who will go home to their loved ones today because they had a firearm in their possession and they used it to avoid a crime or some other violent action. I mean, I didn't thank you. Thank you for waking me up on that one because I was looking at the fact that they were denying, the guy's, background.
That come out separately, and because they don't want you to know the guy's a Democrat, a far left guy, or a socialist. That makes them all look bad.
That's right. Well,
and that's been what, the last 3-4 of them?
And the thing is that, I was watching the shutdown on the Hill when that all went down. Mm-hmm. The vitriol that was coming off of the left throughout the whole debates, the name calling, and I'm a firm believer that the left believe that if they can insult you, if they can, they can't win the argument with us. So
they'll verbally attack you.
So what they do is they verbally attack you, they insult you, they make fun of you. Even their mainstream media, even their media outlets, they make fun of people. That's their attack. I mean, I was listening to a radio show today where they had a MSNBC host on, and she couldn't answer the question. Well, she blew up at the radio announcer, and then called him a name and hung up the phone. And the thing is that you can disagree with people, and that's okay. But I'm not going to personally attack you. Because,
that's what made this country strong was our diversity, our ability to sit down and have a left and right conversation and hammer out our differences.
Yes.
And for 130 years, it worked perfectly, with the different parties. But now it's like, if you don't believe my way, you're the racist.
Yeah.
You're the tin hat guy. It's just, And how we got to this point is beyond me.
Well, it's got to this point because I think we touched on it earlier. Is we allowed it to happen. We didn't band together when we had an opportunity to put an end to it and stop it. We continue to allow it to continue. It's just it's
I got an argument with an older person that's about 75 years old here a couple of weeks ago. And I'm like, well, you folks, you guys enjoyed the milk and honey, and now we're paying the penalty. I said, you had everything, and you would make fun of how corrupt the government was on late night television instead of doing something about it.
Yeah.
If you guys would have stood up then and stopped it when you really could have, and had a lot more rights and a lot more freedoms to do stuff, then we wouldn't be in this battle today.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I mean, that's part of the problem is people in their complacency allowed it to happen. And now, unfortunately they're in the mindset of, well, I'm part of that group that needs to be taken care of, and everything. But they're finding out, I think you mentioned it, so I was going to pull it back up, is that the millennials, they call them the millennials.
Yeah.
Well, that's the younger group. The millennials are the younger ones. They're turning on the president now.
Yeah.
And, the older ones, because, and they're, I don't blame them. Why should I pay? Why should, because you want to be irresponsible and you want to be asleep and everything. Why should I pay for that? Why should I pay for your irresponsibility? And that's what a lot of these younger millennials, the younger kids are now saying about the older people. And I kind of agree with it. I mean, I've had this, I'm fortunate enough, both my parents are alive. And, it's weird because my grandparents actually get it. I can carry on a great conversation with my grandmother. They're still alive too. I'm very blessed in that regard. But my parents my mother, she has her beliefs, and she just, and we were talking, and I told her, I said, these things are going to happen to you in your generation. This is what's coming down the pipe for you. And just the other day I was talking to her, and exactly what I said was going to happen. And her response was, oh, well, what do you want me to do about it?
Yeah,
exactly. It's like, well, wake up.
And I got in a discussion with my grandfather one time because he made the statement of, well, when that all happens, I won't be here. I'll be long since dead.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I said, well, thanks, Grandpa. I appreciate you leaving me this mess.
Yeah. What about your exactly. And I did say that. I said, what about your grandchildren?
Yeah.
What about don't you want them to have the same life and the same opportunities that you have had and everything? And it's just weird. It's not weird. It's by design. It's by over and over mass media, brain manipulation. And that's exactly what's gone on over all the years of, them getting plugged into the TV and stuff. They just numbed you down. And with the fluoride in the water and all the other psychosomatic drugs in the water, they just numbed everybody. And I'll tell you, you want to do the best thing possible is get off of number one, get off city water, start drinking real water, be distilled
because,
or whatever.
Fluoride builds up a calcium thing around what they call your inner mind or inner eye. Your third eye they talk about, which is pretty much the thing that makes you see things, makes you be able to read between the lines, that type of thing. And the fluoride builds up calcium around that part of the brain.
Yeah. And, what's really crazy is I did watch a documentary on fluoride. Fluoride is a byproduct, a hazardous material of the fertilizer industry.
Yeah, exactly.
They would have no way of disposing of this. This would be make Love Canal, for those that don't know, a big super cleanup site for toxic waste back in the 70s. It would make Love Canal look like nothing. So what they did is they produced the fluoride as a byproduct to industrial fertilizer, and they didn't have any way of disposing it. So what do? They pour it in the water, and they tell you it's good for you.
Yeah, and now they're talking about pouring lithium in there?
Yes.
I'll be walking around going, who needs illegal drugs?
Well, they do the lithium. They do the lithium. I mean, look, you can do you take a sampling of water and there's already Prozac in it. There's already birth control, hormones in it. There's all sorts of different, I mean, that's a common thing. But of course you can't argue about it because they tell you, it's too low. It's kind of like, I don't know if you saw the posting that I did over the weekend in St. Louis. There was a gentleman that took a Geiger counter out in his backyard with the snowfall, and they were reading like 80 millirads of radiation in the snowfall. You don't hear about that in the news. I mean, the guy had 3 Geiger counters, and it's on, I think if you go to patriotfb.com, and I believe if you go to the video section and then you go under, it's right there, high levels. It's the 4th one down, or the 2nd one down in the far right column.
Well, I'll check that out.
Yeah.
I noticed we have a real good crowd tonight on patriotfb.com.
We do.
So,
we're growing.
And I think we should name Patriot FB, instead of accidentally saying Facebook, just say Patriot FB, Patriots Fight Back.
There you see, I got it. Thank you. I got to have a defense because it was funny. I was talking with a lawyer friend of mine, and he said, you're going to get sued, right? And I'm like, I hope so.
Yeah.
I really do. Because the reality of it is that a lot of people don't realize that Facebook is based upon open source technology, so they can't lay claim. But you're right, Patriots Fight Back. There you go. There's our new slogan is Patriots Fight Back. So, well, Joe, are you up for? Can you do another 30 minutes? Or are you?
Sure, I'm good.
All right.
So, if you don't mind, I mean,
no, that's fine. I love these types of conversations. And if you'd like to join us, you can give us a call at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and podcast. Join us on the web 24/7 at www.themidnightpatriot.com, or you can reach us at our sister site, which is Patriots Fight Back, or patriotfb.com. When we get back, we'll just kind of wrap it up, go into the evening and everything. But give us a call, 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870.
After Daniel Pearl was kidnapped and murdered in Pakistan, his family and friends came together to work towards a more humane world.
A foundation was formed in Daniel's name to promote cross-cultural understanding through journalism, music, and innovative communications.
On Daniel Pearl Music Day, thousands of people around the world will unite to promote harmony for humanity,
carrying on his mission of connecting people through words and music.
Join us in using the universal language of music to diminish hatred,
respect differences,
and reach out in friendship.
We invite you to perform, support, or attend a Daniel Pearl Music Day event in October.
Participate in Daniel Pearl Music Day, promoting
America. Welcome home the brave. The brave men and women who serve their country are coming home. Home to their cities and towns. Home to their mountains and valleys. Home to their families and friends. Home to America. Some of these warriors are coming home with wounds you can see, and some with wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Wounded Warrior Project was created to provide the support these wounded veterans need to ensure their return to America is well-adjusted and successful. But we need your help to ensure that our mission is a success. Help us honor and empower these wounded warriors. Contact us at findwwp.org. America, welcome home the brave.
What is that?
Oh, it's my time machine.
Does it work?
Sure, just hit this button.
Whoa, dinosaurs, cool.
Or we can go here.
Hey, that's Napoleon.
Oui.
Or we can go to the future.
Wow, hey, you have this nice house. Do I have a nice house?
No, you didn't save any money. Always spent it on vacations and stuff.
If only there was a way I could go back in time and correct that bad habit.
Yep.
Okay, the time machine is not real, but the saving thing is. Get in the habit of putting some of your money in savings each week through a 401k, savings account, or financial investments. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy tips on saving, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
What does this crazy little button do?
Wait, no!
This message brought to you by the American...
Out of control spending. A government that no longer works for the people. Had enough? Then vote for Stone Anthony for president. Replace politicians with a citizen statesman. www.stoneanthony2016.com.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives forever.
At this moment, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is saving lives with pioneering research and care.
And we'll never have to pay St. Jude for anything, ever.
At this moment, she wants to be in her own bed.
I want to be back at school with my friends.
I want to be outside playing.
Please take a moment.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Central Standard Time as we discuss the current topics of the day and other news information. Tonight's kind of like a freeform night. We really didn't have it. We originally had a special guest, and Joe's joining us, obviously, to kind of fill in. Joe, hey, Joe, I appreciate you coming in on the last minute to kind of help out.
Oh, no problem. I don't mind. Anytime I can get the word out and help the fight, I'm all for it.
No, it was, it's I love having these conversations. I just wish more people would join us at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. So we can, if there's anything you guys want to talk about that we're not covering, you want to bring up or whatever, feel free to give us a call. The lines are open. We look forward to, love to have you join the conversation. But, hey, did you hear about the clown? Remember the clown in Texas that was wearing the Obama mask? Was it Texas?
Yeah, that got in trouble.
He's actually getting nominated as the person of the year.
I see that. Hey, Josh has got a question.
Yeah, what's up?
Josh asked, he wants to know is what we can do about kids his age saying there's nothing we can do about it.
Oh.
Because you take like Iceland and others who have used protests to make a change for the right in their country. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, that's exactly what they want you to say. So typically, what you can do is that, being young and being, full of life, and you still got a lot of life ahead. Young people still got, I still have a lot of life ahead of me too and stuff. The way that you can do it is that, before, what happens is as you get older, Josh, and I'm not your dad, and I'm not going to try to be like your father, but this is what I would tell my son if I had a son. I have girls, but if I had a son, is look, you're young. You can experience life. You can enjoy life. You can be a part of this thing. As you get older, what happens is a lot of people lose their way. And I'm not saying marriage is bad, not by no stretch of the means, but when you get married and you have obligations, financial obligations and stuff like that, the things that you hold fast, they soon go away. And then you become that person that settles in, that mentality of, I gotta, get along to get along kind of mentality. So what I would tell you, number one, is get involved now. Because as your life changes, you get older and you get more responsibilities, you're going to find a lot of your activism is going to go away. And what you're finding, and that's why a lot of the activists that we see in the movement now are, we have older kids and stuff, is because our kids are grown up and now we can get back into the fight. And that's what you're seeing is that's why, but for young people, you have, your minds are sharp. and everything, build websites, use social media like we're using now, get involved that way. You've got your sphere of friends or your sphere of influence and everything is huge. Now, the other thing that you can do is also, I tell people, you can lead by example. As your buddies and girls, as they're thinking about, the cars and the football and all of the things that, the mainstream media wants to suck you into to distract you from life, you can actually be an inspiration to them by not going along with it and not being a part of that. And what will happen is that you will attract people when you say, look, I mean, as much as I like football or whatever, I'm going to go home and I'm going to read the Constitution. Or as much as I'm going to go study history, I'm going to go do this. And if you haven't made a career path yet in your life, I would highly recommend that you go to law school. And let me tell you why. We need lawyers. We need people that understand the law into the fight and everything. So that would be my advice. And, like I said, you take it, but, like I said, don't, enjoy your life. You're young and stuff, but use your God-given talents to help do this movement and be an inspiration for those that are around you. They're more likely, your friends are going to listen to you more than they're going to listen to me, the crusty old man on the radio show. So, caller, you're listening to the Midnight Patriot. Can I get your first name and where you're calling from?
Hi, it's Josh from Washington.
Hey, Josh, we were just talking. Did you get my words of wisdom there, buddy?
Yeah, I did. I was just going to follow up on what you said. Hold on here.
Okay.
2 seconds. I'm fighting with the door.
I got you.
Okay, yeah. No, yeah, I agree with that. The more responsibilities and relationships, if you get, married or have kids, you got to pull back from the full-bore activism.
Yep. Well,
all of those things, and
Well, let me
you might get a girlfriend that says, "Hey, I don't want you doing that."
Well, let me give you a word of advice on relationships and patriotism. There are enough patriotic girls out there that you don't have to settle for one. That's not. And I will tell you this: if you're truly committed to this and everything, it is so much better if you do have a girlfriend who is also committed to this. And I'm telling you, because I know people who are dead hardcore patriots, but their spouses aren't on board, and they're just like, and it's just crazy. And, so the first thing I'd ask her, if a girl, you like guns, you like shooting, and if they go, yeah, that's cool, then okay, they're a keeper.
Yeah, but they all say that.
Well, but you know what?
I'm going to tell you right now,
they all do
guns,
because
I like shooting, I like camping,
yeah,
and I like mud. That's the 3 things that they're all going to say, and you find out later it may not be as much as you thought.
well, that's why you date, my friend. That's why you develop great relationships and you date. I've been fortunate enough. Sandy and I have known each other since we were sophomores in high school, so she knows everything. So I'm a very, very fortunate individual when it comes to that. But you're right. I mean, they'll tell you, but the thing is take them out. It's but that's the biggest complaint I have about Sarah Palin is that, and I've said this time and time again. I will respect Sarah Palin when I see her load her own gun. I've yet to see her load her own gun. It's always been handed to her. So when I see her load her own gun and stuff, then I'll have the utmost respect for her. So that's it. So not only, hey, do you like guns, but see if they can break it down. Give her your AR-15 and see if she can field strip it. And I'm telling you, if she can,
yeah, that is true, isn't it?
Yeah, if she can, she's a keeper.
I don't know. I don't know. I just read an article the other day that was crazy. I haven't seen anything else about it. It's not really big headlines anywhere. It was on the sleuthjournal.com, and it was about these something had to do with NATO and the Air Force taking over land space for training and putting down other facilities. It's really wild. Have you guys heard anything about that?
When you say, what do you mean by taking it? Now, there are areas in which the Defense Department and stuff that they restrict access to while they're doing training missions.
Now, I have a little insight to that, too.
Okay. So
my ex-wife and my 2 sons used to work for this town that the government bought out, and it's called Terror Town. It's in Playas, New Mexico, and what they do there is they militarize the police, and they train Army officers and such to work with the police.
Okay.
I have been there. I have seen the training. I was up on the side of a mountain one day, and there's certain areas of this town that, while they're having training, you can't go into unless you're a role player, and that's what my 2 sons done. And they were training people. I'm sitting there watching this with binoculars now, mind you. And they're training people to go into people's houses, not to go into Arab houses or what have you.
Oh.
They're going into American houses to set up with an American family inside. And they pull the family out, and they say, like, there's a sidewalk that runs down the middle of the property. They'll put the people on one side, and then they'll pull all the guns out and lay them on the other side. And then, of course, some of the role players' jobs were to defy the orders and everything, and they were training people to do that, to go into these houses and do this. And they were bringing in foreign forces, they were bringing in American forces, they were bringing in every cop in the nation that stops by there at one time or another.
Yep.
So it's basically like a training center. I got you.
Yeah, there used to be a mining town, and then the mine closed down, and the town closed down. Well, then the government bought the town up and turned it into a training center.
Gotcha.
You can look it up online. It's called Playas, New Mexico. And I mean to tell you, it's so far out into the desert that nobody could find it if they were trying to look for it unless you've been there before.
Wow.
Yeah.
We might have to take a look.
I've heard of those kind of trainings, and that's definitely some shady stuff. I heard about it. I've been hearing about it through videos and movies, documentaries. It's been happening since '95.
Right.
But one of the oldest records we've seen. But this type of particular thing I'm talking about is some sort of back door deal between the Air Force and NATO. And it's actually literally going to force people off their property, make them move out of their homes and the whole nine.
Well, why are they?
I don't know.
Is it because they're doing the
of it? But,
yeah. Is it?
I find that hard to believe because there is so much land out there. When you get out to live out in the desert like I have, you can be driving down the highway and turn left or right at any God-given time, and just go out into the desert. And you can go out miles and miles and miles and miles. And if the Air Force wanted to do something like that, they could set up a top secret base out in the middle of the desert and nobody would ever know.
Yeah, did they explain why they were taking over the land or what they were going to use the land for?
It involved NATO. It was an extremely long article, but it had to do with NATO. And some deal with them in the Air Force. So it sounds like one of those things where they want to expand certain military bases. And,
that could be
interfere with people that live near them, and
it could be eminent.
Some people off the land.
Yeah, they're probably doing eminent domain now. I grew up around Air Force bases and stuff, and they would the air base. I will tell you, being around an Air Force base was cool as a kid. Being that close to jets flying over your heads, and of course, you had the fathers who were jet, they were pilots, and they, as we were out in the fields, they would strafe the within legal limits, right? They would fly over us as kids. But the thing is that the jet fuel is a very nasty product, and especially with us living on a B-52 base. If a bomber came in and they had jet fuel, they would dump the fuel, and there was a lot of issues related to that. So what they did at K.I. Sawyer. Before they shut it down, they actually did eminent domain. They took over a lot of the homes and the properties around the bases that made like exclusion zones and stuff like that because there are a lot of issues related to that.
That could be what they were talking about, but making it sound like the Air Force was bad or something. Because they also said something about the noise, the decibels of the
noise
of the aircraft that caused problems with health issues. It cause health problems.
It does. Like I said, I grew up on an Air Force base, and we would have sonic booms. We at Luke Air Force Base, which was the F-15 Eagle, the Strike Eagle training center and stuff. I mean, you'd have jets. Like I said, as a kid, you were like, this is cool because you get to watch them, when the afterburners and all that stuff. But I mean, the noise is just horrendous. It's just it is. People don't have a B-52. At K.I. Sawyer, when I was a kid, there was a back gate, and you used to actually drive right. The runway was literally maybe 100 yards from the street, and then you would sit there with the B-52s, and we would sit in cars, and right there, and as they would be flying the B-52s over, and the cars would just be rocking, and the noise was just you can't imagine the noise, and it definitely affects you.
I lived on a backyard of Nellis Air Force Base. There was my house, then there was a fence, and there was like a 30-foot area and another fence. Well, I never even gave it a thought, and I thought, this is pretty cool living here because of all the jets, like you say, and everything. So I was out there one day with my camera taking pictures of the jets as they flew by. Man, was that a mistake. Good Lord. They had one of those trucks show up the next day in a little white trucks with no markings, sitting right across from my house, and you could see the little satellite thing looking dish thing sitting on the guy's dash pointed right at my house, and they stayed there for like 8 months.
Yeah, they're watching you.
Yeah.
And so it's it's like I said, it's really, there's a place in England that you can go to, and that was one thing in Tennessee. You can be in the mountains, Tennessee, and they would, they practice, and they, while they were doing their practicing and stuff, they would come and kind of shoo you away. And that was more, I think, because of your safety, not necessarily, they don't want you to see what they're doing. And, like I said, before the first Gulf War, through the mountains of Tennessee, they would practice flying through all of that, and you'd get wind of it, and you'd literally have hundreds of people lining the hills and stuff watching these jets fly by, and then they would, park rangers would typically shoo you off, because they were concerned, because they were there practicing, and I don't think I've ever heard of one hitting the side of the mountain or anything, but I guess that was a legitimate concern, because they are practicing, and mistakes, typically you can make mistakes typically when you're practicing. So, but yeah, I can see NATO or whatever doing eminent domain. But this story about, that Joe, that you brought up is a great part, is the fact that there are places in the United States where they have taken over abandoned towns, and they do training exercises not only with American soldiers, but they do it with foreign soldiers. And a lot of people don't believe that, but yes, that happens, and that's been going on for quite a while now.
Because when they bought this town, they said, oh, well, we're going to train for urban warfare so we can go over to Iraq and Afghanistan and those places. But then when you actually see what they're doing, it's like, okay, those ain't those people don't look like Arabs.
Where's the tents and the camels and the adobes and stuff? No, these are American citizens that they're yanking out of the houses, and so it's all about
domestic training for like martial law.
RUT training is what they call it.
What did they call it?
Yeah.
What was
RUT,
it called?
RUT.
RUT training.
Yeah. Urban, what is it? It's, oh man, I can't even remember the acronym now. You can look it up. Just Google.
I will.
RUT.
I will. I'll put it in there, and then we'll. But that's interesting. So. So
what's interesting is how hardly anyone noticed back after the marathon bombing, how Boston was in a literal martial law, and no one even said anything about it except for a few people.
Oh yeah, that was a great success for the government training program.
It was a perfect. I mean, it worked perfect. There were people that did make it, that did make statements about it, but of course they were drowned out by mainstream media about, well, they're looking for this bomber, They're looking for there's that, who was the one lady, it was great, and there was a story that was posted and it was brought down pretty quickly. There was a lady who actually looked for a pressure cooker, and the next day she had the state police and everything that were there, and it was the state, and they said, well, they got information from the federal government that said that she was looking at pressure cookers. You can put that into Google because
I think that the story you're talking about is where they also looked for backpacks and pressure cookers in the same week.
Yeah.
And it was her husband and her, 2 different separate Google searches, and then they came.
Yeah, but think about that. Just think about that. They knew instantly. So that tells you that.
Do that to Boston, what do you think they're going to be able to do to, say, like my little town that's got 8,000 people in it?
I'm not talking about. You're right as far as the thing. But what I'm saying is, think about the fact that the government with Google was able to, the Google informed the government who was searching, or that someone was searching, and not only did they know what they were searching for, they knew who was searching for it, and they had your address.
Yeah, exactly.
And they had it within, I wouldn't say within days, they probably had it within hours. It took them a day to put their strike team together, however they're going to proceed with it. And that
I remember that story. Yeah.
That's
exactly
just,
right.
And that's crazy. And so when you're out on Google, and stuff, they are, and I'll tell you, there are guys that sit there and they watch what you're doing. I mean, in the computer business and stuff, they have packet sniffers. They know exactly where you're going, and they're watching it. And if you do anything,
from the way I understand it, they have algorithms that listen to keywords too, and certain things go on. Like, I've heard of people saying, I think that this is going on. You talk about, one guy said, I said Gibson, Ibanez, and Fender. I was talking to my buddy, and I went on my computer 10 minutes later, and there was Gibson, Ibanez, and Fender in that exact order, ads right there.
Oh, so you actually?
I don't know if it's coincidence, but I know. I don't know.
Oh, no. You were talking to your buddy, and then it was on your computer.
No, this was another guy's testimony. It wasn't my personal testimony, but that's testimony I've heard. And I've been on the line, and
yes,
I know that there's catches. There's tracking cookies, but I've even just been talking, about something, and it's just magically go on the internet, and bam, 10 minutes later I see it.
Yeah,
it's almost like it is coincidental. But is it coincidental?
Not really. All right. So let me some of those algorithms. Now Google does have, and Microsoft with Kinects and all that. They do have patents on the technology where they can actually listen. They can turn on the speakers of your or the microphone on your computer, and they can listen to you. They can turn on your camera. That's not any news. That's no great news.
Yeah, it's not any news, but it's just it's good to bring it up, and it kind of ties into how accurate
I tell
they
people
are and the way they kind of operate.
Yeah, I tell people flat out, the best way to do that is just take Scotch tape and take masking tape or a label or a sticker and put it over your camera, and so, because I don't video conference anyways. But the other part of that too is that they do have algorithms that do run in the background. Now, believe it or not, human beings, and a lot of people can go out there. And I go out there just to kind of see what's going on in the world. But you can actually go out there and you can, it's Google search words, and they will tell you like the top words that were searched.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Now, when you go out there, you're going to find, now the crazy thing is, and there was a study that was done on this, it's Google Trends. That's what it is. If you look at that list, and then you look at your demographics, you're going to find that you're not that much different than everybody else out there in the world. Things that, now, you're probably, as a Patriot, it's going to be a little bit different. But if you go out there and you look at the list, and so what they do is that the Google, where Google makes its money, well, Google makes its money on a lot of things, but an area in which they make a ton of money is the market research area. They can put in your age, they can put in your sex, they can put in your basic demographic, and they can kick out within seconds everything that would be marketable to you based upon your search history. And they do that within seconds. And so and then the problem is probably like if your buddy, and that's the thing with Facebook and all of these things. So now they got a pattern of you. Now you hook with your buddy and they find out what he's into, and then they build this huge web of everything. And now they know that, males at the age of 28, I don't know how old you are, Josh, but I'm just saying 28, that have a college degree or that have been in the military or XYZ, they build these huge demographic matrices. And then, then what they do is they sell that to marketing companies. And that's why you get the ads that you get and all that stuff.
Yeah. It just makes it easy for them to sell all sorts of things.
They make a ton of money doing that.
Yeah. Even, with the search, the top searches, I know that we'll go back to the marathon thing. That was one of the highest, the false flag, the word false flag search soared during that time to the highest level it's ever been. Well, a lot of people will search that to see what it is, but they're not going to always, they're not going to know enough history to find out what's really going on.
Look, my hand went up.
Yeah, they don't take the time to decipher it.
The first thing
on with the specific events. So.
The first thing I did was went out there and looked how to make a bomb with a pressure cooker. I'll be the first one to tell you. That's the first. I was like, I'm naive. Maybe I'm naive to all this stuff. But the first thing I did after they said, pressure cooker bomb, I'm like, how the heck do you make a bomb with a pressure cooker? So I actually went out the internet and I searched how to make a bomb with a pressure cooker. And
did you find it?
Oh yeah, I found it. And I was like, that is cool. I got it, and I was, it's the low tech of this, but the high tech, right? It was low, but it was just incredible. And I will be the first one that I'm not going to say because I have ATF here tomorrow. But the thing, if I had a farmland or something like that, look, bottle rockets, we used to blow stuff up all the time as kids, and
that's right.
And have, kids will be kids. I remember one time, I'll tell you that I had a buddy, Andrew, who was a big time, he was into RC airplanes, and we ended up building a rocket. I was into model rockets, at the Estes model rockets. Well, we ended up building an airplane. Well, we modified one of his airplanes that shot a Estes model rocket. So he would fly the airplane up to 200-300 feet above the thing, and then I would ignite the rocket, and it was like a ballistic missile that would shoot out of the bottom of his airplane and stuff. And we used to do that all the time. This crazy stuff like that. Nowadays, you do that, you're a terrorist. Literally, you would be as a kid. You would be a terrorist. They would, brand you. You would be taken away. It's just being a kid. Just being a kid.
Well, that's because you had creativity. We used to have creativity when we were kids back then.
Yeah, we used to take acetylene and fill up huge, garbage bags. I remember one time I was in the caving, and we used to buy the little pellets, before we went over the lights, but we would actually have pellets, and then you'd put them in water and it would make acetylene. And we used to buy that stuff. You can't get it now. You might be able to get it. We used to buy that as jokes to our buddies. We would take these pellets and put it in their tent and then pour water on them, and we'd fill their tent up with acetylene. And then as, we were all sitting around drinking and stuff, or, having a good time. And I don't recommend, we'd throw them out, and that thing would just, it would level. It would, because typically you're in a cave, you're down in a canyon anyways by a cave, and that thing would just, literally, it would, when it exploded, it was incredible. But now, you do that now? Are you kidding me? You would have every agency would be pounding on your door right now. I'll probably get a visit tomorrow just for talking about it.
Well, I hope not, Jeff.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care.
Did you guys hear about that poll about I don't know how big the poll was, but they went around and asked people if they'd be comfortable with arming DHS. Not DHS, sorry, TSA.
Oh.
in arming TSA in the airports. Did you guys see that poll?
Whatever.
Yeah, that's kind of my feeling about it.
I don't fly. And if I fly, I'm flying myself. I'm just one of these.
I just wondered if you'd seen it.
Yeah, no, I know that they were talking about it, after the shooting and stuff. And, those guys can't even check my luggage incorrectly. It's
yeah, let's give them guns. Maybe they'll shoot one another.
Well, yeah, I mean, they the problem that you would have with all the problems that they have and stuff, you would have workplace violence issues. I'm a firm believer that would be the next, the TSA would be the next post office,
Yeah, that's why I was thinking. It's exactly what I thought.
Yeah, I mean, in the days in which I used to travel, it was just, you watch these guys and I'm sorry. And once again, I'll probably gonna get the visit, but I used to sit there and go, you know what, if I was an evil person, the stuff you're doing is not going to stop me. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, it's not, and I know that they have what they call the red teams or whatever that actually, develop
CERT teams.
Well, no, these are teams that they hired writers and movie producers and stuff and said, hey, how would you blow up an airplane, or how would you do this, or how would you do that? And they hired, and I'm looking at what they're doing, and I'm like, you can't tell me that these people didn't think about this or think about that or think about that. I think, to be honest with you, I think if you're, and even the Secret Service will tell you that if you're a highly motivated individual who's willing to pay the ultimate price and stuff, even the President of the United States wouldn't be. And I'm not saying that, I'm saying the Secret Service has even acknowledged that a lot of the plans and the security plans revolve around the fact that you're not wanting or you're not willing to pay the ultimate price for what you believe. And that's, but that's what you're seeing with these jihadists. They'll detonate themselves, in a crowd, and they don't have any problem.
They got a lesson from the cause of commie pilots in World War II.
Yeah, the Japanese, exactly.
The bottom line is nothing is preventable if someone's determined and crazy enough to go the ultimate price.
Exactly. And so I think a lot of the TSA stuff is all show. It's all to make us feel like the government is taking care of us. And then the other part of it is,
the documents were released. They admitted that, there was never a significant terrorist threat. It's all,
I was just reading an article about that the other day, Josh.
Yep. You had the subcommittee that wrote a letter, and they basically said that all of the reports and stuff, these are the guys that oversee the TSA, were like, the TSA, they serve no function.
No, yeah, you're right.
They serve no function.
They brag that they don't serve a function.
How do you feel when you're standing there with your hands in the air? Do you feel like a free man?
Yeah.
While they're doing their search?
Yeah, it's just, but the thing is, you have the right, or not the right. The thing this is the way I look at it. What concern? Well, I don't like any of it, but the reality of it is that now I'm seeing TSA agents on the trains. I'm seeing now these are commuter trains. Like when I go to Chicago, they're on the trains. I see TSA agents in the, in walking around on the streets. In Chicago, they said that the TSA now are actually, while you're in the terminal, they are searching your car.
Oh, really?
Yes, they actually, and they have pylons.
Yeah.
They have pylons up that say your car will be searched while you're in the terminal.
And how do they get into a locked car again?
Well, they use, they're using dog sniffing. They're using bomb sniffing dogs, and they have other tools and different things that they're doing. But the reality of it is that if they're doing it in the airport, it's only a matter of time before they do it in the street. Now,
Alex Jones said that here a couple of years back.
Yeah. Look, one of the uproars that they had at Chicago O'Hare is the mayor. If you had a parking ticket or whatever, or you had a ticket that you haven't paid for in the city, they have license plate readers as you're coming into the terminals that they're reading your license plate. That information is given immediately to the parking enforcement. And they will actually, while you go in, they'll come back and boot your car. Now, a lot of people say, well, you need to pay your your parking tickets and stuff. Well, the reality of it is that say I travel to Chicago once or twice a year for an opera or something like that, and I get a parking ticket, and I'm up and I'm down visiting it. I show up, and now I got a boot on my car, and I got to pay my parking ticket, and then on top of that, I got to pay another $500 fee. Plus, on top of that, it's just getting to the point that any way that they can hold you, they will. Like Alex Jones was reporting these pods. Now you don't have to get into a pod to get into the airport. You got to get into a pod to get out. And now they're
pictures of that.
Yeah, now it's just I don't know. It's just getting crazy. But
he was breaking that down, saying that regardless to fly, you're going to have to go through a pod. They're going to roll out the fingerprint, the whole 9 yards. If you want to fly, I mean, that's just what they're going to do.
Yeah,
he said.
It's just and there is zero, none, nada, not one, not two, not zero evidence that those systems actually work, that they've actually protected the people. None. Not
look
one.
at the guy that went to the gift shop and made a gun.
Yeah, it's just. Yeah, I mean.
No, he made a bomb too. From gift shop goods. I believe from the Austin, Texas gift center. He made a bomb.
If you're a highly,
there's things these people are going to be able to do.
Like I said, if you're a highly motivated individual, any security consultant will tell you there is nothing you can do. This is all about making the people feel good and to make them feel, all warm and fuzzy and all of that. And it has nothing to do with
the illusion of security.
The illusion of security. And the thing is like I said, is that the NSA, and they even admitted to it when, not on 60 Minutes, but on the show I was watching last night, they had the advisors. They flat out said that all of the security apparatus has nothing to do with catching terrorists. It has everything to do with catching, tax cheats. It has everything to do with, other crimes, domestic crimes that law enforcement couldn't enforce.
Well, that's because they're using it to raise money. Because as people lose their jobs and they're not paying taxes, they have to make that money up somewhere.
The underground economy, and that's what it is. It's all about the underground. Well, gentlemen, guess what? It's been 3 hours, my friends.
Well, it sure has.
It sure has. So, hey, Josh, I appreciate you joining us, and Joe and stuff. I'm going to sign off, and we'll wrap this show up. But we'll carry on this conversation on PatriotFB.com if you guys want to, after the after show conversation at PatriotFB.com. But I appreciate both of you guys.
Great. We'll see you there.
Yeah, I'll see you there. And Joe, once again, my friend, thank you. I'll talk.
Appreciate you bringing on here.
Oh, not a problem. I'll be talking to you in about 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay.
in the chat room. So, all right, guys. So you're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. Man, what another great show. Obviously it was kind of a loose form conversation. If you would like to join in on a conversation during one of our shows or whatever, give us a call, 1-800-580-4870. If you have Skype, you can actually Skype us at the Midnight Patriot is our Skype name. If you'd like to be on the show, for a segment or whatever, if there's a topic you want to talk about during the day or whatever, just give me a chat request or send me a message at patriotfb.com. My name is Jeffrey Norton and everything. So you can send me, we'll get you on the air, and we'll love to have a conversation with you. But like always, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thanks for all the support. Now, tomorrow morning, join us here tomorrow. As we actually are going to be carrying a new show. A gentleman from I gotta pull this up. It's not working for me, but we're going to be carrying a new show with us. Mike is going to be joining us at 8 a.m. It's American Voice Network, and it's a great show. I listened to him earlier today, and I was turned on to him by another podcaster and also another fellow patriot at patriotfb.com. And so Michael is going to be doing the show tomorrow at 8 a.m. Of course, his show will refeed now. So tomorrow, so you guys understand, we got our new servers up and running. So tomorrow at 8 a.m., we're going to be playing American Voices Network. Then at 2 o'clock, we'll do a refeed of this show. And then at 2 o'clock, we're going to have J.J. McCartney on with his show, which is at Conservative Junction. Then we'll do a refeed of the 8 o'clock show again. And then tomorrow night, we're going to actually have 2 shows going on. We're going to have our show, the Midnight Patriot. We're also going to have Patriot Logic, Cowboy Logic radio is going to be joining. They're going to be on. And so we look forward to this. And this is all part of, the 24/7 news feed that we're going to be giving you at Patriot FB. But I just like to tell everybody thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. If there's anything we can do to make the experience a little bit better, to have you join the conversation, please feel free to reach out to me. You can reach me at patriotfb.com. Join us at the web, also at our main site, which is themidnightpatriot.com. In the comment section, fill that out. We haven't not done any of the tributes to the fallen yet, because we have not had any in the month of December. So thank you very much. God bless you guys. That's just a blessing. May God keep you. You guys will always be in my prayers. Until we talk to you again tomorrow, my friends. Good night.